Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly Nintendo News Roundup live, where each and every Friday night, the All In Crew breaks down the week in Nintendo news. And Eric, I think we got maybe a little bit of news to talk about this week. Maybe kind of scraping the bottom of
Sarcasm.
scraping the bottom of the barrel here this week, Eric.
Oh, yeah. Clearly nothing. As a matter of fact, you know what? I don't even know what we're doing here, folks. Have a great weekend. Good night.
Yeah, good night, everybody. No use making mountains out of molehills. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But seriously, did you guys see that Nintendo Direct this week? That was pretty cool, huh? And we're going to get into all of that. However, this is going to be a fairly in-depth episode, folks. So I think we should probably just go ahead and get the ball rolling. However, before we get into the show proper, there is, of course, an incredibly important piece of business that we must get to before each and every show, my friend.
That's right. We need to thank our patrons at patreon.com/allinpodcast. Huge thanks to the friends and supporters over there who keep this thing a-rolling. Starting with our Golden Banana Bunch, thank you to Rob Yapel, Sean O'Baggins, Ashton, Tim A, a.k.a. NeoPrime33, a.k.a. Nintendo Dad number 4, Phelan Ward, Bill Tucker, Marcus O'Neill, Liam D, Gamer Jason, Andrew Wilkins, Alan #Look to the Cookie, Solo, SAZ, and blah blah blah. Big thanks to our Golden Banana Bunch. You can get a 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier, join their ranks, and see what all the fuss is about for free for 7 days over on Patreon right now. But moving into our Triforce tier, dun! Thank you to Josh Vaughn, the godfather of Tingle Love Tuesday, John Datfast Cummins of the Retro Logic podcast, as well as the On Topic Retro podcast, the Globetrotting Jet Set Nintendo Hub, and Sparky of the Nintendo Hub right here on YouTube, Adam Caparello of the Retro Groove podcast, Shy Guy, the other half of our Shy Guy mod squad. Thank you, Shy Guy, Danielina Hosa, Dan and Luma, Bowser, the Keeper of the Hugs, the Don Rob, Foolish Fuji, the Koala from Down Under, and the legend himself.
The legend Uncle Randy.
Uncle Randy. Big thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Hey, speaking of John, Fast Cummins.
Speaking of one of those patrons specifically, so it turns out he's an amazing individual. Go ahead and check out everything that they're doing over there. Retro Logic and On Topic Retro. As a matter of fact, just a few hours before we started recording this, they dropped, I believe, episode 25 of On Topic Retro. So go ahead and check that out. All the love in the world to John. You really didn't have to do this, buddy. Seth. I mean, look at this.
Yeah, it's there in my background on my shelf there. But yeah, John sent both of us a custom sort of like 3D printed like gold NES cart with the All In 200 logo that I made on it with 5 stars there. Very, very kind to commemorate 200 episodes of All In. That was very, very kind of John. One of the good ones, man.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, he let us know that he was throwing that in the mail for us. I didn't know what it was. I knew it had something to do with episode 200, but when I opened it up, I was like, I just started blubbering like.
Very cool, man. I mean, it's a big milestone and it means a lot. I mean, listen, man. John is not only a Triforce tier supporter of the show and has been since like day one.
Yeah.
He also has been the benefactor of so many all-in giveaways. In addition, I mean, just his support is unbelievable of everything we do here, and he's one of the good. He asks for nothing in return. He's one of the good ones, man. We appreciate John so much. So thanks so much for doing that, dude. It means a lot.
Yeah,
and it will now forever be in the background there, next to the slime and the Carpool Gaming Bobby there on my shelf. I got a little All In 200.
At least until you inevitably outdo yourself after we pass episode 300.
That's right. Yeah. Then what? Then what are we going to do? Real quick, before we get into the direct, speaking of All In 200, there's a little bit of time left to get your All In 200 merch. Limited time All In 200 merch there on allin.media. We got a couple shirts. One of them is an embroidered tee, and got a holographic sticker there with that All In 200 design. So if you want to get this for yourself, you don't have that much longer to do it. So that is only available through the end of June. So just a little PSA there. If you want to get some limited edition All In 200 merch, go ahead and get in on that. So yeah, very, very cool. But Eric, with all of this being said, do you want to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid?
This is the greatest Band-Aid I've ever seen. But yes, of course, this past week we had our first proper Nintendo Direct, our first general Nintendo Direct since last year in about 9 or 10 months. We got a big one back in February, but of course that was very famously a partner Direct. And with this, we've said it plenty of times in the lead up to the broadcast, but with so many question marks hanging over the back half of this year, specifically, what was Nintendo going to bring to the table? Well, it turns out Nintendo brought 40 minutes of mostly pure bliss.
A lot of good stuff. It is funny, and we'll get into this as we break it down. But like the big announcements of this were so big
Yeah.
that like it almost doesn't matter like anything else. By the time you're done like catching your breath from how big some of the big announcements were, it almost like you're kind of just like, okay, cool. They announced Fairy Tale, like whatever, who cares? But oh my god, this next amazing thing. So it was very well spaced, and very well put together, just in general. And I think that has a lot of people really high on this direct, myself included. And I think some of the announcements here were amazing. I think another important piece for this that I'm seeing more people kind of latch on to now is June was like a reckoning for the Nintendo leak culture. Two of the biggest leakers, Pioro and Midori, were both kind of yeeted into the sun here at the end of June, and so nothing leaked from this direct practically. So yeah, I mean, the leak culture is kind of dead for at least right now, and that meant that this direct had a ton of legitimate surprises that nobody saw coming.
I mean, there's some people like I knew everything that was in this. There was certainly no
right.
No surprise exhibited by me during our live reaction, which you can see on YouTube as well. There's certainly no video evidence of me exhibiting any type of surprise at anything that was announced in this direct whatsoever. However, we knew there were going to be quite a few brand new game announcements at this. We knew it wasn't just going to be packed to the rafters with remake and re-releases. And sure enough, they came out the gate with another brand new game releasing this year. And a lot of people have already kind of made this observation. But yeah, over the course of less than a year, we have gotten the Super Mario RPG remake, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, and now we have another brand new installment in the Mario and Luigi franchise, the first one to appear on console, the first one post Alpha Dream. This one, Mario and Luigi, you see the logo there, but at the end of the trailer, we come to find out it is Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Great title. I love that title. I love a multi-layered double entendre title like that. Very, very good. And I think this looks great, man. Like I think this is a huge surprise to me, because I think I even might have said in our predictions, when we did our predictions on the show, like I could see them doing a Mario and Luigi remake, because we've gotten all these other, we had the Super Mario RPG remake, we had Thousand Year Door. Which of the Mario RPG games are going to get the remake treatment? And when this trailer started, before we kind of realized that this was a new game, this trailer starts, and it's obvious that it's in the Mario and Luigi art style right away. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, is this just a remake of Superstar Saga, or like what's going on here? And then it becomes apparent that this is a brand new game, and I'm like, wow, that, like, yeah, I did not expect this. I did not expect a brand new Mario and Luigi game. And like you mentioned, it's coming this year. It's coming November 7th. It's wild, dude. Like that's a heck of a way to start the show.
I mean, I'm really excited. Mario and Luigi has not been necessarily like at the forefront of my Mario RPG experience. I've always been kind of I have such a deep love for the original Mario RPG, and then, with Paper Mario coming after that, not that I don't appreciate the Mario and Luigi series. It's just, I always felt like it was, I don't know. It's hopefully you understand what I'm saying, but this wasn't something that I was immediately like, oh my god, this is absolutely what I need. If I don't get a new Mario and Luigi game at this direct, I'm going to die. However, by the time the trailer for Brothership finished, I was pretty well sold. The animation and I mean, just the personality dripping off of absolutely everything. That's one of the big things that people have lambasted Mario's different games for over the years, especially when it comes to things like the new Super Mario Brothers series, is the almost lack of art direction and the almost lack of visual personality that the games exhibit. However, like, just look at how expressive Mario and Luigi are in just about everything that they do. This, in my opinion, is an even more interesting looking game than Wonder even was when it was first announced.
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting to see them go this route with it, and I think that this, this is something that we brought up on the last episode of Bit Harmony, and Pat in the chat here kind of points out too. The trailer sold me. Looks like a good old fashioned fun game.
Yeah.
The thing about this is like Mario and Luigi kind of took this spot. Once Paper Mario, with Super Paper Mario sort of pivoted to a kind of more experimental like action series versus an RPG series. And that's really what Paper Mario has been ever since Super Paper Mario on the Wii. But Mario and Luigi kind of took up the mantle of like, this is where the Mario RPGs could still live. Like, we could still have kind of a classic style Mario RPG series with this Mario and Luigi franchise. And that, I mean, they were putting out those games really, really frequently with Alpha Dream. And to be honest, I felt like I liked them all, but I felt like they got a little bit stale after a while. So it's been, I think, just enough time away. We've had kind of just this reintroduction to Mario RPGs here on the Nintendo Switch within this past year. So to come out with a brand new entry that is so cool looking and so vibrant looking and so expressive and interesting, I think it's the perfect time for this. And I'm happy to see the franchise back, because I mean, I didn't even play Paper Jam, so I think Bowser's Inside Story or Dream Team was like the last one I played. I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I didn't play Paper Jam either.
Yeah, and I think it looks great. I'm excited for it.
I am too. And for those who are unfamiliar, one of the kind of big gimmicks with the Mario and Luigi series is the fact that you control, both Mario and Luigi concurrently during a lot of the action when it comes to the turn-based battles. And typically that's taken place over, just a couple buttons. But with a full controller setup, as we have on the Nintendo Switch, I'm really interested to see just how expansive the ideas get. Now that we have more buttons than on the Game Boy Advance, and honestly, even more capabilities than something like a Nintendo DS or 3DS with extra shoulder buttons and everything like that, I do wonder if they're using those expanded capabilities to really take the mechanics in this game to the next level. I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see. There's plenty of that classic Mario and Luigi overworld exploration that you see here. That's kind of the trademark of the series, and we see how much more expressive even the brother attacks are in this one too. Like, there's a shot where they're kind of like kicking a Koopa shell back and forth, and it looks like something out of Mario's Strikers. Like Mario's kind of charging up his kick with it, and it's got this cell shaded kind of art style to it. This kind of weird like electricity theming to what we've seen so far. We were seeing a lot of plugs and like the extension crew or the extension gang or whatever. These enemies here that are they look like they're electricity themed and kind of like electrical plug themed, and I don't know. It's really interesting. I'm curious what's going on with the story of this one. It looks like a lot of fun, and I will say too, to the title of the game, Brothership. We see a couple of shots here in the trailer, including the final shot of the trailer. It looks like you just have this like part island, part ship thing that I don't know if that's going to be kind of your hub throughout the course of the game or what. But this right here, this is a ship, but it's also like a moving island with a big old electrical, kind of light bulb at the top of it. So yeah, it's pretty. Pat in the chat says plumbers versus electricians. I mean, that's what it seems like we got going on here, man. It's pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to learning more about the story.
Yeah. But as we've already said, we don't have too long to wait. This game is coming out in just a few months at the beginning of the holiday shopping season.
November 7th. Pretty excited about it. And yeah, again, Brothership, great title. Good work. Good work on the title.
That's all you guys need to do to sell Seth on, is to have a clever double entendre title. That's literally all you need to do to sell Seth on a video game.
A good title is important. I'll say it until the day I die. A good title and good key art is important. All right. Well, that was the first thing they kicked off the show with. Coming into that, we got a new look at Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, which is coming out next month. They detailed a couple new modes for the game.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I still don't think I'm necessarily sold on this one. But still, it's cool to see more of it.
Yeah, there's actually going to be a lot more of an online competitive component than I think we had previously understood there to be. I don't think we need to spend too much time talking about the game. It's mostly a known quantity already. However, They did detail a few new things that I think honestly should have been known quantities up until now. I am a little bit more excited to check out the game with the new information that they've released. And I do love these kind of classic video game manual style, maps and cheats and tricks and tip sections that they've added in. But yeah, an expanded, I don't want to necessarily say battle royale style game mode, but kind of like that. Yeah. That should be a lot of fun. So that is releasing next month, July 18th. And yeah, I mean, some new information. Cool. I think most people have already decided whether or not they're going to pick this up. And again, I certainly didn't impulsively buy that collector's edition when it was announced, and I still I still am offended at the insinuation. However, I hope it's good when it comes out. I hope it's fun at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's pretty inexpensive. It's $30. I wish there were more games on the thing. And I wish there were more interesting games on the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be my cup of tea or not, but we'll see. It's coming at this point in less than a month, July 18th. So, of course, they're going to hit back on that.
Yep.
We got to look at Fairy Tail 2. Are you a Fairy Tail fan? You a fan of Fairy Tail?
I've only vaguely been aware of its existence. With everything else going on, anime is something that I wish I had time for, because there's a lot of anime out there that I would like to see. However, time is a finite resource, unfortunately, and I just don't have the time for absolutely everything that looks cool to me, and anime in many respects has been a big victim of that in my life. So I'm not super familiar with many contemporary anime, and Fairy Tail is certainly chief among them. I really couldn't tell you if you threw up a group of characters. If you just threw up a group of characters from this franchise, I probably couldn't even tell you what series they were from.
Yeah. I'm with you. I don't know thing one about Fairy Tail, but I know that
that's not a knock against the series. It's just like
not at all. No, it's just never entered my purview. And I know there are Fairy Tail. I know Fuya. Fuya's a big Fairy Tail fan, so she's excited about this coming this winter to the Nintendo Switch. So please be excited about that. This though, now we're talking. Fantasian Neo Dimension, a game that has been trapped on Apple Arcade for a while, coming this holiday to the Nintendo Switch. This is the game from Mistwalker. That's Hironobu Sakaguchi's studio after having a dramatic departure from Square Enix years ago. Went on to do like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon and The Last Story. This is their latest game and Sakaguchi's final game, as a matter of fact, before he retired. That has been an Apple Arcade exclusive this entire time, and it looks great. I can't wait to play this on Switch. The big kind of thing with this, not only in combat can you see how they're kind of curving the attacks a little bit.
Yeah, like Wanted almost, like bending the bullets.
Curving the bullet, yeah. But the actual environments are handcrafted dioramas. It's not CG or anything like that. They actually make them by hand and put them in the game, which gives it a really cool and unique look. And I'm excited to play this on Switch.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here just for Hironobu Sakaguchi. The man has brought so much joy into so many decades worth of my life. For anybody who's not immediately familiar with the name, he was basically the mastermind behind the Final Fantasy series for most of the first couple decades. And he was, when it came to a lot of the big super collaborations, the Chrono Triggers, the Blue Dragons, and stuff like that. The involvement of people like Akira Toriyama and Nobuo Uematsu were highly lauded, but Hironobu Sakaguchi was another big member of that super group. So just anything really attached with his name immediately interests me. Just because the fact that it's been on Apple Arcade has meant that it has been completely outside of my purview up until now. However, this is absolutely one that I will be checking out when it drops on the Nintendo Switch.
Coming this holiday. And Uematsu, by the way, is also the composer of this game.
Uematsu also very famous for his work originally on the Final Fantasy series. Has become a legendary composer in Japan. Honestly, if he just stopped at like Final Fantasy VII, he probably would have been.
Yeah, probably could have. Yeah. So really strong pedigree behind these games. What I hope, especially the fact that Square Enix is publishing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is very funny and very surprising. And what I hope is, I am hopeful that because this deal has been made, now that that bridge is reconnected, right? Like, could this mean that we get Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon and, in the last story, like bring that all forward to modern consoles? That would be so great. Lost Odyssey in particular, that game is awesome.
I don't know. Like when it comes to a lot of those type projects, yes, the involvement of people like Sakaguchi and Uematsu, like I don't know if they're the ones who own the rights or the licenses to those games, though.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Mistwalker, it's his company, but I don't know who actually is the who makes the call on that. But I mean, like Square Enix coming in to work with them again and publish this version of the game. Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. Pretty big deal. I think low-key a bigger deal than people maybe give it credit for.
Well, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this. Square Enix is pretty good on pushing these, I would say not quite as marquee as many of their games. They're typically pretty good, especially through social media marketing, on getting the word out about these for people who are interested in it. So I imagine this will not be the last we hear of Fantasian before it's... we need a date at the very least.
Yeah, we'll get an update, I'm sure, later on this year. The next update was a complete surprise to me. I thought Nintendo forgot this game existed, but sure enough, new update to Nintendo Switch Sports, adding basketball to the game later this summer for a free update.
It came out like, 2 years ago?
Something like that.
3 years ago? They added in golf a month and a half after it came out, and then that was basically it. I'm honestly not really a gambling person, but I would have bet money if you had said, do you think Nintendo will ever add anything? Do you think there will be any more content updates to Nintendo Switch Sports? I would have put money down on no. Emphatically. Nintendo is done. They have put Nintendo Switch Sports firmly in their rearview mirror. I mean, this is cool. This is not something I'm necessarily like super hyped for. I'm sure it'll be fun for those people who forgot that they own the game. But, a hype, not necessarily super high. Surprise, incredibly high.
Let me pitch this to you, because we've got a couple days to marinate on this direct, right? The timing of this is so strange, and it makes me wonder if they're quietly working on Nintendo Switch Sports and adding to it so that they can release essentially not quite a sequel, but like an ultimate edition for Switch 2. Like next year when Switch 2 comes out, this was so successful for the Wii, making that the pack-in game for the Wii. What if they launch Switch 2 with a bundle that has Nintendo Switch Sports, Ultimate Edition or whatever, with this update and a bunch of new sports on top of it? Like maybe this is just kind of a thing where, hey, remember this exists? Because we still do, and maybe when the Switch 2 comes out, you're going to want to have to pick this up on launch day, just like you did with Wii Sports, and we've got all this new stuff that we're adding into it behind the scenes. That's my tinfoil hat.
I don't think that's the case, just because one of the reasons that Wii Sports was so ridiculously successful was it played directly into the key identifying component of the Nintendo Wii, which is this is the waggle machine.
Sure.
So I don't think that the Switch 2 or whatever it winds up being called is going to be hyper focused on motion controls. I mean, maybe, but I don't think it will be. They could release it as a pack-in game, but I don't know. I'm not willing to put my own tinfoil hat on yet on that.
I think Switch 2 is going to have the exact same form factor as Switch 1 in terms of like Joy-Con, motion controls, and all that stuff. And I think a big reason why, and Switch, by the way, Switch Sports did do well. It's not like it like sold badly. It still sold quite
Yeah.
well, all things considered. I just think it needed to be pitched differently, sold to people differently. Yes, these new characters, they have names for them. These new like Spoko Square characters, they're not as cute or as endearing as Mii's are, just inherently, right? But the thing about it is like the Switch Sports and Wii Sports, like I think a huge reason why it did so well and why people latched onto it so much is these are good games. Like the Wii Sports is just a genuinely great game, regardless of gimmicks or the Mii's or whatever. Like Wii Sports Bowling is still excellent, and it's just as good, if not better, in Switch Sports. People just need to be acclimated to it correctly. And this came late in the Switch's life, and I think a lot of people were just kind of whatever on it. And I don't know, I think maybe putting out a sequel or a follow-up or some kind of ultimate edition to this with Switch 2 might be a good move. I don't know.
I don't know. Let us know in the comments if you think that if you see the Nintendo Switch Sports Switch 2 pack-in selling 1 million copies.
We will see. But the next game here, this is another one that came kind of out of nowhere. This is from the same devs that made that game Shady Part of Me. MIO Memories in Orbit. Or not, sorry. Is it? Yeah, Memories in Orbit. That's it.
Yeah.
This looks like kind of a lot of people are making the joke like, oh, they rebooted Silksong. This does look very Hollow Knight-ish, right?
Yeah, a little bit. So it's so weird. It looks almost like it kind of reminds me of like Hob meets Journey meets Hollow Knight. It's very clearly a 2D action platformer. I'm not willing to call it a Metroidvania yet. We don't know necessarily how much of this open world backtracking, whether or not that's going to play a big role in the gameplay. However, it does look incredibly atmospheric. I love the lighting. The main character, the way they just kind of run around on their hair like some kind of weird mechanical spider or something, does look hyper interesting. And I'm still, we're in this post-Metroid Dread era of high profile, of AAA looking at least. I don't know if this is necessarily call this AAA game, but it still reminds me of stuff like Metroid Dread and Prince of Persia Lost Crown. So I'm here for these high effort, high budget 2D action platformers, 2D Metroidvanias. I just based on the fact that it's a new IP, I find refreshing because there's so much creativity out there, and this not being really hamstrung by any previous licenses or franchise. Just seeing what the game already has to offer in this initial announced trailer makes me really interested to see exactly where they're going to take the gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing gameplay-wise, I'm seeing a lot of things that we've seen in games like this before. I'm seeing your Ori sort of, dash through enemies kind of attack that gives you, a little bit of extra height and use that for platforming and stuff. I'm seeing a lot of this stuff. There are a couple cool shots, though, where the movement just looks very fast and fluid and very kind of, I don't know, like there's a shot later in the trailer where the character sort of like slides on some ice that like kind of throws them up into the air, and there's just a lot of like kind of acrobatics kind of going on right here, and like bouncing off of platforms and doing little midair spins for a little extra horizontal distance. And I don't know, the movement looks really fun, and I like the art style. I like this kind of like cell shaded pencil sketch looking art style that it has going on. Very cool looking game. And this is, I mean, I never heard of this before. MIO Memories in Orbit coming next year to the Nintendo Switch. So
and probably Switch 2.
Probably so. So that's pretty cool. Speaking of Metroidvanias, we did get a little update, shadow dropped to Disney Illusion Island.
Yeah,
that game's still getting support.
That's really cool. We had another shadow drop update for this game a while back, But here we go, like actual new story content for
Yeah.
Disney Illusion Island. Again, another free content update. And I do like this ability of, marking out different places on the map with like little pins and then
Yeah.
finding out where those things cross sect. I think that's a really cool little kind of gameplay quirk, a really cool little addition to this new content. And I mean, my only real thing about Disney Illusion Island was the fact that it felt a little gameplay light to me. Maybe it's just because of the fact there was no combat in it, but
Right.
just the fact you were running around and jumping. But the extra content that they've released post launch, I didn't go back and check out the first content that they released for it. But now that this is out, it really does make me want to go back and check out just how much more refined the game is and how much more it has to offer now.
It's a good game. I liked it
It's
quite
a
a
good
lot.
game. Yeah.
So, and I'll probably, to be honest, once they're like done, once they've said, okay, like we're adding everything we've added, because I was shocked to see this too.
I was
You know,
too. Similarly to
so
Nintendo Switch Sports, I would have said, "Oh, they're probably done."
yeah, but I mean, sure enough, they're continuing to add content to it for free. By the way,
For
as a
free.
free update. So I mean, once this is kind of all said and done, I'll probably go back and just kind of re-experience the game and a lot of the new content with it. But it's pretty cool that they're adding new content to it at all. Again, for free, shadow dropped. Next was Hello Kitty Island Adventure, which is another Apple Arcade game finally making its way to Switch. Now, it's not coming until next year, and I know a lot of people will see Hello Kitty and kind of have their eyes glaze over and laugh, but apparently this game is like excellent. This was rated very highly. In fact, Apple Arcade gave this their game of the year for Apple Arcade last year.
Really,
So,
I didn't know that.
yes.
I've seen
People
quite a
love
few
this
people.
game.
I've seen quite a few people speak very highly of this. Like a surprising number of people speak pretty highly of this. This again isn't necessarily something that would be at the top of my to play list when it drops, but I can appreciate a good licensed game for the sake of it just being a good game.
Yeah, and I like Sanrio. I like Sanrio characters, and I think they're cute. And I've really enjoyed some of the Sanrio stuff that's come out over the past couple years. And I mean, it's kind of impossible not to be charmed by the way this game kind of looks and getting to make your own little Sanrio character. And I'll definitely check this out when it comes out and see what all the fuss is about, because I'm definitely intrigued. I'm a little surprised that it's not coming until next year.
Yeah,
I'm a little surprised that it's that far out and that we're hearing about it this early. But still, I mean, there is a lot of variety that they're showcasing here in the trailer.
yeah.
So yeah,
And I mean, yeah, it very much looks like a Sanrio Animal Crossing.
pretty much, yeah. But I mean, I've heard there's like a lot going on in this game, like a shocking amount going on. They put a lot of love and care and work into this game, evidently. So I'm actually
Good.
I'm pretty excited to see what the fuss is about here,
Nice.
based on what everybody has said. Following this, another kind of out of nowhere announcement that I, to be honest, kind of forgot about, this new Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports game from
Sure.
Game Mill.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Why not?
I mean, Game Mill's got a little bit of good grace with me because of the Nick All Star Brawl games. So
Sure,
I-
yeah.
so I'll be willing to check this out, and I do. It's a very good idea for them to include multiple sports within a single title, rather than just trying to bottleneck this into, hey, this is just Looney Tunes soccer, or this is just Looney Tunes basketball. Having the variety of sports there was a very good idea, because adding that variety into it inherently gives the game, in my opinion, like a lot more appeal. And I don't know how strongly the Looney Tunes brand is or has really ever been at selling video games. However, when it comes to high effort arcade sports titles on the Nintendo Switch, like there's not an overabundance of them necessarily, and especially with Mario Strikers Battle League kind of underperforming a little bit. I think if this game's got a little bit of sauce to it, there's room for it to exist, and it could wind up being a bit of a sleeper.
Strikers sold well. Strikers sold pretty well. But this game will not sell well. This game doesn't look very good. This to me looks like a Wii game. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. This was the point of the show. I was like, what are we doing? Why are we looking at this? Especially going back and watching it multiple times here. I mean, I just don't. I like the Looney Tunes and everything, and I don't think it's a bad idea on paper. But man, it just this looks like just let's churn this out. Let's get this. Let's hit that post and get a Looney Tunes sports game out. Yeah, I don't know. This does like nothing for me. Looks bad. Looks bad, man.
Oh well, neither of us have played it yet, so we don't know yet. But regardless, I mean, we don't have it's coming this year, right? We did actually get a date for this one.
I don't think so. Did we?
Did we
they,
not?
I don't think they said anything. No. He just said that's all, folks, and Weird Porky Pig came out, and yeah, no date, nothing. I assume it's this year. So
I've got to imagine. But regardless, next we got another update from Inner Sloth, who themselves are having a very good summer, especially after the announcement of their new Outer Sloth brand. But of course, they didn't forget the game that got them there, and we are getting yet another pretty expansive new content update to their iconic social deduction game Among Us, which is going to include new ways, I guess, new imposter roles for you to start messing with your friends, including ways to turn invisible and even other ways to mess with people.
That's cool. I haven't played Among Us in years. Probably not going to go back to it now, but it's cool that the game is still getting updates because there are still people playing it.
Oh, yes.
So cool for those people. And it was shadow dropped as well. And it is a free update. So cool for the folks who still play Among Us. Next up here, we got this game Farmagia, which looks like a weird pastiche of Digimon and Pikmin and Monster Hunter.
Yeah, so TLDR, you grow this massive army of monsters as if it was a gardening sim. And then rather than just having a small team of a couple monsters, you have apparently dozens of different monsters you can take into battles with you, similarly to Pikmin. And then just like Pikmin, you can just have them all gang up on these massive kaiju-esque creatures. And there's a lot of stuff going on in this game. So weird. Again, Monster Rancher meets Pikmin meets something like Harvestella or something. There's it's one of those things it's just crazy enough to work.
I don't know, man. This comes out days before Mario and Luigi. I'm good. I'm good. Y'all can have fun with that. Whatever. It didn't really do much for me. It's kind of, it's a mildly interesting idea. And, the artwork, speaking of Fairy Tale, that apparently, Amanda told me on the Nintendo Drive last night, that is the same artist from Fairy Tale. The guy who made Fairy Tale, I guess, is also the character designer of this game. So Fairy Tale fans, I guess, were eating well.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, it's cool, but I don't know. This just isn't not my cup of tea. I'm sure there are people who are going to be excited about it, but not for me personally. But that's okay. There's plenty of stuff that was for me in this direct. I don't know how I feel about the next announcement either, though, Eric.
So, yeah, rather than getting another game in the Donkey Kong Country franchise that we've been waiting on for over a decade now, Tropical Freeze HD was a nice, fun, frankly needed update for that game because, we all know about the Wii U, and it was great that Tropical Freeze was able to come to a console that not a lot of people had. However, this game already had a remake on a system that many people had and played. It originally came out on a system that many people had and played. It's a good game, but in terms of necessity, if I had the choice between this or a new Donkey Kong game, there's so far and away no comparison there. There's so far and away no competition there that I do, for those few out there who haven't had the ability to play Donkey Kong Country Returns, cool, but this was admittedly, as cool as the game looks, this was admittedly the part where I'm starting to think, okay, maybe we're going a little bit too far and doing a little bit too many remakes and remasters.
I'm not even really in that camp necessarily. It's just for this. This one is so clearly just, hey, like the theme park is themed around Donkey Kong Country Returns. It's like that style, the ticky tacks and all that. That's what the theme park in Super Nintendo Land is modeled after. So I guess we'd better put this game out to get people excited about the theme park. So there's a game on shelves for that relates to the theme park. I mean, that's why this exists. This is a quick and dirty port. This is done by Forever Entertainment, apparently, who has done solid porting work in the past, and they've worked with Nintendo, and they're the people who did like the Panzer Dragoon port, for example. That's fine. You know, it looks to me like a quick and dirty port of the Wii game, and it's conveniently timed for early 2025. You know, it's coming out in January, and that's when we're expecting the theme park to open is early 2025. So it just seems a little too convenient for me. Now, I will say, I'm not really that upset that this was not a new Donkey Kong game for Switch, because at this point, just save it for Switch 2. You know, just save whatever new Donkey Kong game, just save it for Switch 2. But, you know, it's fine. I don't know that I'm interested. And it'll be $60, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll be full price.
I will say, of all the games that were announced at the Nintendo Direct, I have seen a lot of people already do some not super flattering comparisons between this and the previous versions of the game. So, I don't know, man.
Cash grab. I'm with you, Pat. Cash grab. Absolutely. Well, luckily, after this little like string of stinkers for me personally, we did get some good news here. We did see indeed the resurgence of Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake with a very cool, impressive trailer, a release date announcement after this game has been MIA for like 3 years. It looks fantastic. It's coming out in November. I cannot wait. And of course, they did the fun little fake out at the end and announced that yes, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 are also getting this treatment in 2025. Very excited.
Yeah, I think we first heard about this during the Dragon Quest 35th anniversary showcase. Again, yeah, that's already been years ago now. We're now closer to the 40th anniversary of Dragon Quest. But this was especially right in the middle of that Octopath, Live Alive and all of that stuff, where this just really looked like it was going to be the future of retro RPGs. And I'm still here for it. I still think this looks amazing. I can't wait for it. The updated animations and the vibrancy of these games, it just looks so good. They only announced initially that they were doing this for the third one, and a lot of people, yourself included, said why not just do the entire original trilogy, which is already a trilogy. So the fact that we finally got a new trailer for this, finally got a date for it, we finally got some amazing box art for it, and then even after it was done, they lingered on the screen for just long enough to be like, oh, they're not done yet. Hype.
Yeah. So they come in with this shot here, November 14th, 2024. Great box art, and you see the date and the logo kind of fade away, and you see this great box art. Okay, cool. This looks awesome. And then it hangs on it for just a little too long, and then it kind of pans over, and then you see the artwork for 1 and 2 kind of come in and sort of paint itself in to the grand mural. Beautiful artwork. Experience the complete Erdrick trilogy. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake coming in 2025. And then we were treated to a little clip of Dragon Quest series creator Yuji Horii adorably holding a Dragon Quest slime in his lap, and kind of introducing the concept of this, and saying, hey, we decided to go ahead and do 1 and 2 as well. It's actually, for people who've never played Dragon Quest, and this will be my first time playing these as well, so I'm really excited for that reason alone. Dragon Quest 3 is chronologically taking place before Dragon Quest 1 and 2. So Dragon Quest 3 that comes out in November is actually the starting point. That is the best place to start. And Yuji Horii himself says, I think players will have fun seeing how things unfold if they play 3, 1, and 2 in that order. So you heard it from the man himself. Very cool.
Well, I just really like the fact that, yes, I get it. It's the Dragon Quest series, and the slime is probably the most iconic mascot, the most famous representation of that series. But Yuji Horii just sitting there holding that big slime plush, to me, felt explicitly like he was including Toriyama-san in the presentation.
Oh, maybe.
So I thought that was very sweet. But yes, we are getting Dragon Quest HD 2D remakes for 3, then 1 and 2. It looks like they're bundling 1 and 2 together.
Yes.
For release early next year. And yes, thank you very much. Keep doing this. I will keep buying them.
Can't not wait. Bring it on. Going to be awesome. Don't really have much to say about Funko Fusion, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
This really does nothing for me. I don't know about you.
Well, we found out about it, I think. Oh, God, it was maybe at an Xbox showcase from a month or two ago. This isn't necessarily the first time we're seeing it. However, fair play. Funko has worked with so many different licenses, and there are so many different recognizable characters in this that just from the sheer amount of novelty, I don't know if I'm going to buy it, but from the sheer amount of novelty, it at least interests me to see how Jurassic World characters are going to play off of Back to the Future characters, are going to play off of Battlestar Galactica characters, are going to play off of Child's Play characters, and so on and so forth. Just, again, for the sheer unbridled novelty of it all, cool.
I mean, yeah, you can't deny that Funko has made deals with amazing licenses that have paved the way for this weird crossover game that they're making, but I don't know, man. I've never liked the Funko art style. Like,
I haven't either, but they sell gangbusters. They sell inexplicably well. I don't get how these things became popular, but fair play to the company for making them popular, and they're parlaying that into a video game. So good for them.
I get it. It's people. I think from the perspective, these are Funko Pops are inexpensive. You're talking what, $10 for a Funko Pop. 10, $15.
The collector's market for Funko Pops has gone absolutely nuts over the few years.
MSRP. So. MSRP is what, $10-15 for these, and you get, if you like the art style, it's a cute little, figure of a character that you probably like. So I get it, and there are a lot of practically every license under the sun has a Funko Pop equivalent. So I can understand the appeal. It's not for me, but I get it. And I think Funko fans will be excited for this. This comes out September 13th. So.
I do think, admittedly, the design of the figures has increased dramatically in quality over the years.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So there will be people who will be into this. Again, not my cup of tea, but this has a market. They very, very quickly showed one last kind of trailer before Luigi's Mansion 2 comes out next week. Just kind of hit it one more time since we have you here. Hey, by the way, we have a game coming out next week. I hope you're looking forward to that. Yeah. Not really any new information with it or anything, but, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a couple shadow drops, but it is nice to have, as many games as you can fit in here that are coming out as soon as possible to get people excited. So yeah, Nintendo's always going to feature whatever game they have coming soon. Frankly, I was a little surprised this didn't get a little bit more screen time, just because, again, this is the last real advert for Luigi's Mansion 2 before it releases. But I mean, it's a Luigi's Mansion game. I'm confident it will do well.
I'm sure it will. Getting a localization of the new Denpa-Men is pretty exciting. This is a free-to-play Denpa-Men game that came out in Japan, I think last year or the year before or something. We're finally getting it here in the States. This is a 3DS franchise. It had like 4 games or something like that. And the concept of the Denpa-Men is that they're these little creatures that live in the radio waves around us, and you capture them, and then you use them to play this very, very simplistic sort of dungeon crawler RPG. They're kind of dumb and kind of fun, and I like these games. I own all the ones on 3DS, and this is going to be free to play. I'll play it too, So.
Kind of dumb and kind of fun. That's probably the perfect way to sum up Denpa-Men. I enjoyed it in the way that they, used the gimmicks of the 3DS as a way to engage players. They had these little AR, augmented reality portions that you could go into and collect the Dinpamin and stuff like that. So it was a fun little series that started as basically a tech demo for the 3DS that became its own little adorable franchise. I was really surprised to see that there was even another one that exists. But I mean, cool, another Dinpamin game.
Well, it's cool to have more 3DS stuff come over to Switch, right?
Yeah.
It's always nice to see more of that. Another shadow drop that came right after Metal Slug Attack Reloaded. I feel like nobody is talking about this. I think it looks kind of cool. And this did get shadow dropped. I haven't picked it up yet, but this is like a kind of tower defense 2D plane Metal Slug game. Kind of reminds me of Patapon, which I mentioned on the Nintendo Drive last night, and nobody on the panel had ever even heard of Patapon.
Really?
So, yeah. So, but that's kind of, this reminds me of like a Metal Slug Patapon, and I don't know. I'm not opposed to that idea.
I don't know. I've seen a couple mobile games that look like this, and the mobile games that I've seen have never really done anything for me. As much as I adore the Metal Slug series, and I cannot wait for Metal Slug Tactics coming later on this year. But I don't know. There's just something about this that gives me super, like, free to play, just paper thin, super shallow game vibes to me. So even though it's playing directly to my sensibilities by having the Metal Slug franchise, just looking at the gameplay, I don't know, man. It's actively not doing anything for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know, I think it's $10, so it's pretty affordable. I don't know. I might check it out one of these days. It did shadow drop, so
yeah,
it is available now for anybody interested. Next up, we got Darkest Dungeon 2. Finally.
Nice.
This game has been rated for the Nintendo Switch since like February or something like that. I predicted it at the February Direct. I predicted it at the Indie World, and here it is finally at the June Direct. We're seeing Darkest Dungeon 2 finally for the Nintendo Switch. I love the first Darkest Dungeon, and I've not played this one yet. This has been out on PC for a little while, so I'm excited that I've been specifically waiting for it to come to Switch, so I'm pretty excited that it finally is.
Yeah, Darkest Dungeon is one of those games that just feels like everybody who's played it loves it, despite the fact that it's, created a little bit of trauma for them. But yeah,
it's good. Great game.
But this game does look really, really good, even though it's got a very clear kind of dark, gritty motif. I love like the use of color, and it's got this almost cell shaded look to it. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, we might as well just mention it here, I guess.
Yeah, might as well.
The first game is the current NSO free game trial. So if anybody wants to play Darkest Dungeon, you can do so if you're an NSO subscriber for free right now for a week, through to I think the 26th, and the game is like massively discounted, 75% off.
Yeah, whenever they do those game trials, the game itself not only being free for about a week, but yeah, if you want to continue playing afterwards, you've got that week to buy it at a huge, huge discounted price. I don't, like, there's so much going on. I don't often engage with a lot of those, but I'm absolutely doing that this weekend with Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, give it a shot. I got sucked into it when it first came out. This is like it's a roguelike series, but it's got a lot of really cool mechanics to it. It's a lot, like there are a lot of, things going on, and there's a lot to wrap your head around, a lot to learn. And you're going to struggle your way through it until you kind of figure out what's going on. But I really enjoyed the first one. Yeah. And, I'm excited for this. I'm looking forward to playing the second one finally on Nintendo Switch. It's coming later this year. I want to say I don't think they have the date here. It's coming in like July or August or something.
Yeah.
It's not too far away. So yeah, play the first one. If you're an NSO subscriber, check it out.
Nice. Well, speaking of NSO, that's not the only NSO news we have, because the very next thing that we saw are more NSO titles that got, just like everything else it felt like up to this point, that got shadow dropped from this past week's Nintendo Direct. So we got two new Game Boy Advance games that dropped. We got Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past 4 Swords Edition, and we finally got, of course, Metroid Zero Mission that dropped on the Nintendo Switch. basically completely closing the loop on, I don't know, unless you consider Metroid Samus Returns or Return of Samus from the 3DS. But short of that, they've completely closed the 2D Metroid loop for Nintendo Switch. So you can play Metroid 1, Zero Mission, you can play Metroid 2, Super Metroid, you can play Metroid Fusion and Metroid Dread all on your Nintendo Switch now. And if you have found the original Metroid a little bit too obtuse, a little bit too user unfriendly to get into, Metroid Zero Mission is an amazing, amazing remake of that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really cool. And the fact that you can play Four Swords, online is really cool. So yeah, these are great drops for
Yeah.
the GBA. These are really good drops. And the drops we got for Nintendo 64 in the brand new mature
Yeah.
17 plus app.
A brand new app. They didn't even add them to the Nintendo 64 app. They created a brand new mature games only N64 app for these two games they dropped.
Yeah, which already existed in Japan, by the way. Like the Japanese NSO already had one of these apps for when GoldenEye came out, and yeah, sure enough, now we have it too. To welcome on in Turok Dinosaur Hunter and Perfect Dark, also shadow dropped.
Yep. Perfect Dark is really cool, and it really feels like Microsoft is trying to push interest in the new game as much as they possibly could. Perfect Dark, of course, yet another rare game that we are getting on American NSO. I mean, just keep them coming. I'm so happy that there's this partnership that exists now to allow these games to finally re-release on Nintendo platforms. And even though I haven't played this version, the NSO version, I have heard a lot of people already say that the Turok version of the NSO version of Turok is already very unwieldy. And honestly, that them releasing Turok, I thought was a little strange, just because like an objectively better version of the game already exists on Nintendo Switch, albeit, I mean, you've got to pay for it. You can't just buy an NSO subscription. But I would honestly, even beyond Nintendo Switch Online existing, I would still recommend picking up they don't call it necessarily like remastered or HD or whatever, but there is kind of an updated version of the original Turok available on Nintendo Switch that I very highly recommend.
Yeah, it's the Night Dive Studios.
The Night Dive Studios one. Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there's I think merit though in having the original version here, and it's good for preservation and stuff. So I get it. It's fine. Sure, nice little pack-in bonus.
Yeah.
I think with N64, Perfect Dark is the real get here, and then
absolutely.
both GBA games are really cool. So if Turok is kind of the odd man out, then that's fine with me.
Yeah. But I mean, Metroid Zero Mission made all the sense in the world, and I mean, when it comes to games from the Game Boy Advance that I feel like really needed to come to NSO, Metroid Zero Mission, I think, was pretty high up on that list. A little, honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, I am a little surprised that even though we already have Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo NSO, I was a little surprised they brought the Four Swords Adventure here. But I guess the online component with the NSO app, because I've never played Four Swords Adventure, so
yeah, it's the fact that you can play it online with people. That's a huge deal. I mean, now a lot of people like yourself, like, hey, I've never played this. Well, now you can. You can, hook up with people online and play it with NSO. It's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Pretty cool. Yep. Very sweet. All right. Well, those are all shadow dropped. They're available now. If you're an NSO subscriber, I hope you're excited about that. The next thing we saw was a new Phantom Brave game, which I've never played any of these. I have no experience with it, but is it Phantom Brave the Lost Hero or something?
Something like that, yeah. You'll have to you'll have to forgive me. I may or may not have completely forgotten that this game even existed, given what got announced after it. However, I've always been a huge fan of Nippon Ichi Software. I've made this well known during my time here at All In, and Phantom Brave is one of those games. Matter of fact, the original Phantom Brave is also available on the Nintendo Switch. They released it as part of like one of those Nippon Ichi Classics collections that the company has been kind of rolling out every year or so. But as you can see, it's a grid-based, tactics-based RPG. A lot of people are more familiar with the company's other grid-based, tactics-based RPG franchise, Disgaea.
Yeah.
However, they probably look at Phantom Brave as somewhere in between Disgaea and I don't know, maybe Fantasy Life.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I can't really speak to it. I feel like I've seen or heard the title before, or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a few people online say that this is like a pretty big announcement to the fans, having a follow up to Phantom Brave
Yeah.
coming next year, in 2025. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know anything about it.
Phantom Brave was one of those games when it originally came out back on the PlayStation 2. I think it was only PlayStation 2. But when it originally came out, it was one of those like cult classic, one of those if you played it, then you know type of RPGs. And it was very popular with a kind of certain type of otaku in the West when it originally came out. There were a lot of this was really when anime was making a big push into the West. And when the Phantom Brave, when the original one came out on PS2, I saw a lot of people talking about how much they really enjoyed it and how good of a game it was. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that still have a lot of love for it. A very vocal minority who haven't had really too many opportunities to voice their love of the franchise over the years. But I know that there's a lot of love for that original game. And for those fans of the franchise, I'm sure this was a huge announcement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Eric, calm yourself. Keep yourself composed. Deep breaths. We're finally going to talk about Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. Yeah, relax. Relax. Of course, this announcement was when Eric popped off. Low-key the biggest announcement of the entire Direct, I think. The most searched game coming out of the Direct. The hype is real for this game, Eric.
Let me try to explain to you how big this announcement was for people who don't understand, for people who don't follow the FGC as deeply as someone like me. The Versus series has very long been an incredibly beloved franchise with fighting game fans. It existed really at the height of the arcades when it came to the fighting game landscape of the arcades in the mid to late 90s. The Versus series, X-Men Children of the Atom, and those games were really at the forefront of that. These games were making all of the money, and of course going into something like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is still considered one of the best fighting games ever made. However, given the I guess how muddy the licenses got with Marvel characters for many years after that really made it feel like there was no way that we were ever going to see re-releases for most of these titles. Fox owned the rights to the X-Men for so many years. Sony owned the rights to characters like Venom and Spider-Man for so many years, and the license rights were so muddy that it felt like they were just gone. They just didn't exist. So a few years ago, there was a group, very famously helmed by Maximilian Dude on YouTube, for those who are unfamiliar. And they started this movement just to try to get Marvel vs. Capcom 2 back, because again, for many, that is the pinnacle of the series. It was so impossible that something like this could have happened. The entire movement was just about, hey, can we get all of these stars to align just to get Marvel 2 back, just to get this one game? Can we have this one crumb from the past, from this thing that we love? Can we somehow get that brought back into the modern era? And it was so impossible that something like this could happen. That was all the free MVC movement, free MVC2 movement was really about, is there's no way anything like this could happen. Let's just get what we think is the least impossible. Let's try to get this one thing. A few years ago, something like this MVC collection getting announced would have been laughable, like genuinely laughable. So for this game, for this collection to actually be announced with Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, MVC1 and MVC2, and also to a lesser degree the Punisher, to have every single one of these games brought back onto modern platforms, to have all of the hands shake that needed to shake to get this deal done is insane to think about. It certainly helped a lot that Marvel Studios has been reconsolidating a lot of the rights to the characters over the past couple of years. However, getting something like this to become a reality after what the fans have been, begging for. They've been begging for a crumb of this buffet for so many years to actually be given the full buffet in one fell swoop was like, it broke some people's minds. And as you saw, it actually made one guy throw up.
Yeah.
So I couldn't believe it. I would have been happy with MVC 2, but when I just saw clips from all of these different games, the only thing that could come out of my mouth were just noises. That's all. Like, this announcement reduced me to an absolute blubbering mess. I got genuinely emotional over the past few days just thinking about the fact this is real. I have some genuinely special memories with quite a few games in this collection. So to see all of them come back in a type of package that is akin to like the Capcom Fighting Collection we got a couple years ago, and the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection we got a few years before that, to see this happen in this way, and we actually got a lot more information once the website was released, that makes me even more excited to play this game. Hidden characters and boss characters from these games are now going to be fully playable in these titles, in these versions. Rollback netcode for every single one of these games, massive galleries and jukeboxes and everything. This is everything that fans of this franchise could have ever wanted. They have been begging for crumbs with nothing for years, and then Capcom comes in this Nintendo Direct and literally gives them everything that we've ever wanted. It was special.
Yeah. Been begging for crumbs. How about the buffet?
Yeah.
How about the whole buffet?
Yeah. I mean, that's actually what happened. We've been begging for crumbs for years. With no response, Capcom comes into this presentation after they've already been cooking this summer, by the way, with stuff like the Terry Bogard and Mai Shiranui announcement for Street Fighter 6, with all this cool stuff coming out about Monster Hunter Wilds. Capcom's been having themselves quite a summer gaming announcement season, but this one it blows. Like, this was one of my favorite moments of this console generation, is just seeing the screen that we're looking at right here on the video that shows all of the games in this collection. To say that I am somewhat excited for this release is an understatement akin to I enjoy being alive.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, MVC2 is my favorite fighting game of all time. So
yeah,
to have MVC2, just that alone, I would have been extraordinarily excited for it. I'm excited to dig into some of these other games too, but to have MVC2 playable on Switch is going to be very, very special. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Just having MVC2 alone would have been a blockbuster announcement.
The second we saw this screen, I knew exactly what it was. Like, just the second we saw this screen, I was like, "This is," and I thought it was just MVC2. If you go back and watch the reaction, I'm like, MVC2. Like, that literally would have been enough. I thought that's all it was, and then they just start rolling the footage of all of the games in this collection, and that's when Eric started sounding like one of the Imperial alarms in Star Wars whenever the TIE fighters take off.
Yeah, but it makes... I can't remember if it was on the main show. I can't remember if it was during one of our weekly news roundups or something.
Yeah.
But I talked about how, after X-Men 97 had come out a couple months ago, I talked specifically about how something exactly like this just makes too much sense with Nintendo, or with Capcom and Marvel, rather, trying to make something work with the incredible hype and popularity of the X-Men 97 cartoon over the past couple months, and how ready people were to go back to that time. Like if Marvel and Capcom had half a brain cell, they would make something like this work. And sure enough, that's exactly what they were working on.
And it's coming later this year. We still don't know a release date. Eric, you speculated, I think correctly, that we're probably getting a release date for this at Evo
Yes.
in August. So
Yes.
I imagine that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's coming out this year. I've got to imagine the only reason we didn't get a hard release date is simply to have an announcement worthy of Evo. I'm thinking that it'll come out probably mid to late October timeframe before the holiday shopping season really kicks up into high gear. And I am counting down the days to this collection. I can't really tell you guys anything else to illustrate how much this means to me.
And it is getting a physical release on Nintendo Switch. As a matter of fact, the Amazon listing for it went live today.
Yeah.
And Shy Guy posted in our Discord that it's already the #1 best-selling game on Amazon right now.
Yeah.
So,
and the box art is just stunning.
It is. Yeah.
It's already the background screen on my phone. Within an hour of the direct being over, I turned it into the background screen on my.
That
It's
doesn't
just
shock me.
stunning box art. If I could get just like a set of 3 posters, one for the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, one for the Capcom Fighting Collection, and one for the MVC Collection. Oh my God, yes. Oh, it's so good. Capcom truly understands how deeply people care about these games, and they have gone out of their way to do right by the fans with these collections. Thank you, Capcom.
They're doing it right. Excited to learn more, but the exciting news doesn't stop there, Eric. The next thing we got to look at Mario Party. Super Mario Party Jamboree, specifically a follow-up to Super Mario Party.
Yeah.
Which to me is exciting. I really like Super Mario Party.
This game actually wound up benefiting from my excitement a little bit, because that first shot where Kamek shows up. Yeah. I still, in my memory, see that as part of the reveal of Marvel vs. Capcom.
That's funny.
I still see that as part of the entire moment in time that I remember Marvel vs. Capcom being revealed, as I see Kamek. But like in my own mind's eye, I see Kamek essentially like, "Hey, are you excited?" Yes, Kamek, I'm incredibly excited. But because of that, yes, I'm also very excited for a new Super Mario Party game. I'm a huge fan of the first Super Mario Party that we got here on Nintendo Switch. And honestly, between that and Mario Party Superstars, very similarly to Nintendo Switch Sports, very similarly to Disney Illusion Island, I really thought we were done with this franchise on Nintendo Switch. But I am more than happy to have another entry in this little kind of pseudo spin-off Mario Party franchise on this. And hey, look, not only are we getting the 5 boards, which has kind of become standard over the past couple entries, but we're getting a couple more as well. We're actually getting 2 throwback boards from Mario Party and Mario Party 2, giving us a total of 7. In addition to that, I guess they spoke about having 110 plus mini games in this collection. In addition to that, there were some pretty robust online multiplayer modes with 20 plus players, and it looks like this is going to be a big package. I just hope that we get confirmation of traditional Mario Party Online, because I think that was weirdly absent from this trailer.
Yeah, it's interesting. Super Mario Party did not launch with any sort of online multiplayer. They ended up patching it in later, and when they did, you could play all of the games online except for the ones with motion controls, which was a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so, and I guess there's some kind of latency thing that they wanted to avoid with motion controls online. I don't know. I don't know if they fixed that. I don't know if it's going to be the same way here. I also don't know if this is going to be one of the issues, because every game practically in Super Mario Party was motion control. You had to play it with just the single Joy-Con. So I don't know. I mean, if that's the case again, that's fine, but it would be a bummer if you couldn't play this online, especially since this game does look so big, because it is launching with 7 courses. These 5 new courses all look great. I love this like mall, the
Yeah.
Rainbow Galleria with a flash sale, going on where the stars are half price. You know, that's cute. We got Roll'em Raceway, which is gonna, have kind of your Mario Kart fix within Mario Party. That looks really fun. Goomba Lagoon with beach volleyball going on, and golden Goombas that come out of a Goomba volcano. That's pretty fun, And you got King Bowser's Keep there, and Mega Wiggler's Tree Party as the other 2 maps. So yeah, I don't know. That
I
looks
do
really
think
good.
Rainbow Galleria is a missed opportunity for reinclusion of Coconut Mall.
Maybe I don't know. I'm fine with a new sort of thing here. I mean, we have these two. These are 2 great. Probably the two from these 2 games. Probably like the maps from Mario Party and Mario Party 2 is Rainbow Castle and Western Land, and this means hopefully this is the Yasunori Mitsuda's Rainbow Castle song from Mario Party 1 is like in my top 10 favorite pieces of video game music. So I really
Really
hope we get a rearrangement of that song for this
nice.
game. That would make me very happy. Star Athena says, I hope they introduce a shorter game mode. Hopefully they bring back kind of the Superstars scheme where you can kind of customize all that stuff
Yeah.
and do it that way. But yeah, and then they have this Coupathlon or whatever with 20 players online. That should be a lot of fun. That should make for some fun community game nights. Because I will say, man, as good as the online multiplayer for Superstars was, and it was really good,
Yeah.
like you could ultimately only play with 4 players. So to have something now where you have all of these people can actually play together, even if it is just in its own little mode, I think that's a huge win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I really am excited for this. Again, as I've already said, big fan of Super Mario Party, and this expansive new installment in the series looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. So I hope it is all of those things, and I hope we get all the online components that we're looking for because, I mean, there's just, I mean, yeah, Mario Party is good.
all the characters, look at all of these playable characters, man.
Dibs
Like
on
the
Money
fact
Mole.
yeah, I mean the fact that you can play as all of these characters is pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean I don't know why Wario and Waluigi are up here with the heroes. They should be down here. I kind of feel like, but that's fine. It's still this is gonna be awesome. This comes out October 17th.
Yep.
For the Nintendo Switch. Looking forward to it. Another big surprise. The next thing we saw, The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, the sort of follow up to the Link's Awakening remake by Grezzo. I assume this is also being made by Grezzo, where, importantly, finally getting to play a full game as Zelda.
So the Legend of Zelda series has officially gone woke now.
It's woke. Yeah, cancel. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't understand how in the Legend of Zelda franchise you could have us playing as the princess. I mean,
Oh, man. Yeah.
Zelda is the knight, always has been. So to have such a betrayal of all the things that we have come to know and love about this series really is just kind of the last straw when it comes to my patience.
Give
for
Zelda a
this franchise.
sword.
Exactly.
Give her a sword. Let her fight just like Link. Do nothing new or original with this game.
No. Genuinely my favorite thing about the announcement of this title is seeing all of the wonderful fan art that people have taken Zelda's new Echo ability, her ability to kind of recreate anything she can find with this with the staff of hers, and use it to great effect for various fan art, with her basically just like smashing various other Nintendo characters over the head with chairs or tables, or her just yeeting a massive rock at one of the bokoblins or pig soldiers. Yeah. The first time I saw that, I was like, oh, that's actually brutal. But yeah, the Link's Awakening remake from Grezzo was really fantastic. I really dug the whole kind of toy mechanic, the almost Duplo toy look to it all, but it wound up working incredibly well for that style of game. And I think for this take on it through this filter, playing as Zelda with these types of mechanics, making it not only top down, but going back to that art style and going back to that studio, I think was a good call.
Man, yeah. I mean, like, thank God that art style was not a one and done sort of thing. And I know that a lot of people were also kind of like annoyed or mad or whatever that this was not Like, why didn't they just remake the Oracle games in this art style? I mean, I would have been okay with that too, but this is so much more interesting. Like, to have this fresh new take on Zelda, where, I mean, this really is kind of taking the concept of 2D Zelda and, like, Tears of the Kingdomifying it a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that you have this much freedom in a 2D Zelda game is so cool and so unique. You're really going to be able to approach this game however you want. My one and only misgiving with this so far, because I think this looks great. I'm really excited. This is kind of skyrocketed up my list of most anticipated for the year. My one kind of misgiving is that, like Tears of the Kingdom, they brought back the sort of infinitely long horizontal scroll of things here. And I feel like, just like, Tears of the Kingdom, that was like my biggest like gameplay hang up with Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like, was that. Why didn't they fix that for this? Put it on a radial or something. It would be so much easier. But so I feel like that's going to get a little bit clunky. That we do see that you have the ability to sort the items, just like you could in Tears of the Kingdom. It honestly looks identical to Tears of the Kingdom, with like the last used and all of that stuff. All of that stuff is all well and good. That's all fine. But like, yeah, make it. Star Athena says, make it a wheel. I'm right there with you. Yes, please. That would just immediately solve really my only hang up with this, because otherwise I think it looks great. And regardless, I'm really excited for this. It's coming out
Yep.
in September. We're
Yeah.
just like barely 3 months away. It's September 26th. And I just love, man, the variety that we see here of the stuff we're able to do, the different locations, the different characters, the ability to, like you said, not only just throw like rocks and furniture at enemies, but also capture the echoes of the enemies. And they all function differently. I mean, it's so cool. It's such a
Yeah.
cool idea.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
You and I, when we were talking about our predictions for this show, we thought that there was a very good chance that the Legend of Zelda franchise was going to appear even after Tears of the Kingdom released last year. But because Tears of the Kingdom released last year as a brand new Legend of Zelda adventure, neither you or I thought we were going to get another brand new Legend of Zelda adventure this year. We thought there was a very good chance we'd finally wind up seeing the Twilight Princess or Wind Waker remakes, but no, sure enough, we're getting brand new Legend of Zelda games on Nintendo Switch in back-to-back years. And this one, very similarly to how Princess Peach was doing her thing in March, we're finally getting to play as Zelda in a top-down Zelda game. And I mean, two franchises doesn't necessarily make a pattern, but I mean, I'm certainly already kind of viewing this as the year that the princesses kind of came out of their shell a little bit.
Well, and like, I just love. I mean, yeah, I love that we're going back to this cozy art style. Look at the vibes that are portrayed with just these kind of vignettes that we see in the trailer, running away from this dark miasma, this foggy, cloudy, overcast, jumping on the treetops, breaking the bounds of what would normally be. Like, Link couldn't do that, man.
Yeah.
Like, Link, if we were playing Link's Awakening right now, you'd be bumping up against those trees, not able to do anything. Zelda is able to build a little staircase for herself and bust through the bounds of what Link's Awakening had in front of. I just think that's so awesome. I love all the little gameplay implements we're seeing here. It is going to have limitations. We see a shot where she summons two of the moblins there at the
Yeah.
same time, and the other one starts to blink. So you can't just spam, infinity moblins or whatever right here. He's starting to blink there at the bottom. So, I like that they're implementing that. I like that you can't just overdo it. Another concern that I had with this, because the Link's Awakening remake did have, especially when you were doing screen transitions, it did kind of stutter a little bit. This one looks like the areas are much larger, which I'm hopeful will make it feel a lot smoother by comparison. And I mean, look, I love the characters that we see here. I mean, not only are we getting these shots of like, I don't know who this character is, like kind of old lady whipping around all these knights, and then we see
It's old Impa.
I get, maybe it is Impa. Maybe it is Impa here, and it might very well be a very quick shot of two different kinds of Zora. So is this like a multiversal story? Who knows? Maybe it is. Deku, are in
Yep.
here, which is awesome. We get to see the Deku tree. Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm way into it.
I am
Way into
too.
it.
One thing I haven't seen anybody talk about, and one thing that I would be very interested to see them include. One of the things that the Link's Awakening remake famously had in it was a dungeon maker.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I do wonder if Nintendo are going to try that again, or if they're just going to say, you know what, we tried it, we weren't able to implement it on the scale that we wanted to, so we're not even going to worry about it this time, we're just going to focus on the adventure. Or if they say, hey, we had a few ideas, we weren't able to implement them the way we wanted to, let's go back to the drawing board and really do it the way we want to this time. I could see either of those happening. And if they included a much more robust dungeon maker in this game, that alone for me would be a selling point. I'm already super excited for this new gameplay that Zelda brings to the table with the echoes. However, if they added a really robust dungeon maker aspect to this game, that alone would not only be a selling point, but a reason to play this game for years.
Yeah. Oh, you know what it is? I'm just realizing this as I'm watching this. These things have a cost. The little try the thing when she summons them, they have a little cost. So each one of these costs 2 triangles off of Try's little like tail there. That's what it is. So you see, she has summoned one. A triangle goes over its head. That makes sense. Very readable way to make that work. I didn't notice that before. Very cool. Yeah, there's probably a ton of things to analyze about this trailer if you really go frame by frame on it. I think it looks great. Yeah, I would love to see the Dungeon Maker come back. I would love to see, like, I really hope if they were smart, they would have some kind of post game, like, decoration mode or something where you could really kind of like go through and decorate Hyrule and put down furniture and stuff. If they were smart, they'd do that.
Well, the reason I specifically bring up the Dungeon Maker is just because of the potential puzzle, like the puzzle creation aspect. The whole thing about the Dungeon Maker in Link to the Past was more or less about exploration and combat, but Zelda's Echo ability gives the potential for so many interesting puzzle creations that I think people with the creativity to make the most use out of a Dungeon Maker could really tap into, and it could really challenge them mentally.
Agreed. Very, very excited for this. I don't know if we have anything to say about Just Dance.
Just Dance is releasing again this year. Sun will continue to rise. Oceans will continue to ebb and flow.
Oh, yeah, we should mention, actually, real quick before we move on. I forgot about this. They are releasing a Nintendo Switch Lite Hyrule Edition on the same day, which is very pretty.
It is very pretty, yes. Very pretty.
Yep, very
But
pretty.
yes, Just Dance is coming out. I genuinely think that's all we really need to say about that.
Yep. Got to see this. Got to see Lego Horizon Adventures running on Switch for the first time. Continues to look great. They did confirm it will have online multiplayer on Nintendo Switch, so Eric and I can play it together, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, it is going to be a ton of fun. You and I knew we were going to see it here at the Nintendo Direct after we initially saw it at the PlayStation presentation. And
Summer Game Fest.
Summer Game. But yeah, we finally got to see some Switch footage of the game, and that was a big thing coming into this, was whether or not they were going to confirm online multiplayer for this version of the title. Seth and I had the exact same reaction when they said online multiplayer. And yeah, I mean, even though if you put the PlayStation and Nintendo Switch trailers next to each other, I'm sure you could nitpick this thing to heck and back. However, I mean, I think it looks really, really good for the Nintendo Switch.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Looks great. It looks great. It looks like it's running really well, really solid. I'm not noticing any huge frame dips or anything like that. I think kind of moving away from the massive open world structure of like Skywalker Saga and kind of going back to this more classic style Lego format, I think really has done it a lot of favors in terms of the way that it's going to run.
Well, I think also... I think for the studio, Skywalker Saga was probably internally a huge learned lesson in terms of the scope of a Lego game, because that one had like half a dozen delays and there were so many issues behind the curtain. And So I've got to imagine that just developing a game with the scope of Skywalker Saga really put a bad taste in their mouths for something of that scale. And I'm perfectly happy to jump into a Lego game that's not going to require, 50, 60 hours from me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait to play this. This looks awesome. And really, I mean, just just the novelty of seeing the PlayStation Studios logo in a Nintendo Direct is kind of funny. So,
I will never get tired of that. Since the first time we saw it with MLB The Show, that's never going to seem normal to me.
yeah, pretty cool. I'm excited about it. Looking forward to it. Still no date, just this holiday. Same story with this next game, Stray. Eric, Stray's finally coming to Switch. Eric's been asking for it.
I've been asking for it. I have specifically even predicted it at several showcases, kind of similar to you with Darkest Dungeon 2. I really thought we were going to. I really thought we were going to see it during the partner showcase. That didn't happen. I knew it was coming to Nintendo Switch at some point, but when I finally stopped actually asking for it, that's when they gave it to me. I am a very vocal fan of Annapurna. I mean, I've got the huge, Annapurna 12 games in one, $200 collection. I absolutely adore the studio and basically day one on any game that they put out. I cannot wait to see how this runs on Nintendo Switch. Honestly, the footage here looks really good.
Looks good
for Nintendo Switch. And, little kitty in a big city, basically.
Yeah, never played anything like that before.
Exactly.
On Nintendo Switch. So.
But I'm excited for it, obviously. This game I've been asking for a while. You've played it on PlayStation, right, Seth?
No.
You didn't get a chance to play
this game. I'm good.
Yeah, because of okay.
Cats in Peril. Nope. I'm good. No, thank you. I'm out. Y'all have fun. I'm out. But yeah, this is coming holiday 2024. Finally coming to the Nintendo Switch, and yeah, looks like it's going to be a solid port. Looks like it's running just fine.
Yep.
So yeah, cool.
At least from the trailer, we're certainly not going to hear about any bugs or glitches or any technical deficiencies in there. But sure. I hope it's good. I hope it's good.
Yeah, same. This didn't really do anything for me. Curious what you think about Tales of the Shire: The Lord of the Rings trademark game. How do you feel about this bad boy?
I mean, it's fine. Cozy games specifically over the past couple of years have gotten a massive foothold in the modern gaming landscape. That's why we see things like Disney, Dreamlight Valley. Mm-hmm. I think of Lord of the Rings style games. I still think of the old PS2, like Return of the King and stuff like that. And obviously, Shadow of Mordor. And so when it comes to Lord of the Rings style licensed titles, I mean, I don't know if there are any hardcore Tolkien fans out there who are asking for a cozy Lord of the Rings game.
Lots, Eric. Lots.
Okay. Well, if they're out there asking for it, then more power to them. I hope it's good. But for me, this is just kind of another license trying to tap into the cozy gaming market. Good for them. If there are lots of people out there, good for them.
A lot of people, specifically, Lord of the Rings has a massive female fan base. And a lot of people have wanted, on paper, exactly what this game is. The idea of a cozy game that takes place in the Shire where you play as a hobbit, it makes perfect sense on paper. I don't think visually the game is super well representative of the source material. I don't know that it looks what I would imagine this game to look like. This does to me look a little bit like the Disney Dreamlight Valley kind of style, but if the game is good, there are a lot of people who are going to be really happy about this. Because again, I do think that the genre makes sense for what this is. The Shire is a cozy place. The Shire is it's got those cozy, Hobbit vibes. People are eating multiple breakfasts over there. I mean, that's the kind of place you want to live in, right? So I think this makes sense. I just hope the game's good.
Well, if the game is good, and there are as many people out there asking for a game like this as you are insinuating, if the game's good, they need to come out for it.
Yeah, I hope so. We will find out. It's coming later this year.
Holiday, 2024.
Yeah, coming this holiday. We'll find out what's going on with that. This is a really cool announcement. Ace Attorney. I love that they use the shot, the meme shot of Miles here for the announcement. But yes, Ace Attorney Investigations Collection coming September 6th. I'm very excited for this. Collecting the 2 Ace Attorney Investigations games for the DS, which are these are Miles's games. This is my favorite character in the franchise, and this is the games where he is the protagonist.
Yeah.
And the second one we never got here in the States, so this is the first time it's ever being localized. So this is a big deal. Capcom again putting out a really kind of high profile collection that a lot of people have been asking for, and at this point all of the Ace Attorney games, with the exception of the Professor Layton crossover game, will be available on the Nintendo Switch after this comes out.
This is the first time looking back over this trailer as we're doing this broadcast. I didn't even notice that you could switch between the more clean art and the pixel art. That's actually really dope. But I do like this specifically. Like, a lot of people may have a misconception about Miles that he was inherently an antagonist or a bad character. No, he's just a prosecutor. He's just the other side of the law, which is defense and prosecution are very different types of practicing law. So having games where you can actually see things from that side it makes perfect sense within the context of the franchise. So finally having these on a modern platform, it made all the sense in the world, and I'm glad that they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Miles falls into that classic archetype of
the anti-hero. Yeah,
he's an anti-hero, but he's a perfectionist. He holds himself to a very high standard, beats himself up, has a tragic backstory, and there's a lot going on with Miles's character. And he's also the kind of person where you get to know him. He's brash and he is driven and he goes after what he wants. But once you kind of play through the games and you get to know Miles as a character, he's not an antagonist at all. So it is really cool to have these, and I can't wait to play through these. And also getting a physical, and I'm very excited to have that physically. Now Capcom just needs to make a Western release for the physical of the first collection, because that's what we're still waiting on. We still need that, and then finally we'll have everything all complete physically under one roof here on Switch. Very excited. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, Capcom's been cooking. We also got that Ghost Detective remake, re-release. Capcom's been putting a ton of their old games on modern platforms. You know what? I wonder if they have any left that they could also collect onto modern platforms and bring to new audiences. Podcast should really count those down in like a top 5 or something.
I think I know what you're trying to imply there, Eric. I think I know what you're trying to say. A couple more announcements here. The 100-line Last Defense Academy from the Danganronpa creators.
Yeah, slash not Danganronpa, but actually Danganronpa. But
the gameplay looks nothing like that.
Yeah, the gameplay is completely different. It's very tower defense, tactics RPG. But yeah, what's going on here from a visual and story perspective? Even somebody who's not really that familiar with Danganronpa was like, oh, this is Danganronpa. Got it.
Visually, yes. The art style is definitely Danganronpa, but Danganronpa is always like, hey, murder mystery sort of thing. I don't think that's what's going on here. This seems like the kind of thing where, yeah, you're in a school, just like Danganronpa in many of the Danganronpa games. But they're trying to protect the school against this weird, otherworldly, eldritch force. And I'm curious where the story is going to go with this one. The I guess narrative designer is the same one. I don't know their name, but the same one from like the AI series and Somnium Files. So the pedigree is really strong with this game, and I know a lot of people who are excited for this. This one is like impenetrable to me. I'm like, maybe someday, but come on, dude. I don't know. This just looks like too much. This looks like too much for me. Tower defense, anime melodrama, murder. I don't know. Might be too much.
Yeah, for me as well. But for that exact reason, I'm glad it's here, because another thing that this Direct did very well is there was a ton of variety. Yes, we got a lot of first party franchises that people are excited for. We got the Mario and Luigi's, we got the Super Mario parties, we got the Legend of Zelda's. But yeah, there was also stuff like this that was kind of completely unlike anything that Nintendo is doing right now. So we got this, we got the fairy tale stuff, we got the Farmagia stuff. So, there's a lot of people who own Nintendo Switches that are exactly into these type of games. So it makes a lot of sense for, even though it may not be you or I's cup of tea, it makes a lot of sense to be here in this presentation, I think.
Yep. Coming in 2025, the the penultimate announcement, Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven.
I appreciate getting the word penultimate.
Yeah, getting a sort of modern remake for the Nintendo Switch. I mean,
yep.
Looks fine. I've never played any of these, so I don't know. It looks interesting, but I've never played any of them. Have you?
I have not, actually. Well, one thing about RPGs is they tend to be lengthy affairs. So I try to play as many of them as I can. I deeply love the series, but there are just so many franchises out there that have gotten so, I don't want to say bloated, but so massive in scope that there are a lot of them out there that just kind of seem like I just don't know even really where to get into them at this point. And this has been one of them for quite some time. I mean, it looks cool, looks interesting. But makes me wonder, is like, okay, well, this looks cool, but is there anything else I need to play before I check this one out? And, stuff like that.
Yeah. It's not coming until 2025, so we do have some time to wait on it. But I know, again, this is a franchise that I'm at least familiar. I've heard of Saga for years at this point, so I know that there is a fan base for it.
Yeah.
Like a few things that we saw here in the direct. But Eric, the final announcement, the final thing they showed, we finally saw it. We both predicted that we would see it.
Yes.
At this direct, and sure enough, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, as it is now named, did make its grand reemergence at this direct.
So when you and I did our predictions, we had different categories of the predictions. We talked about like first party inclusion, NSO, and third party. We had a specific category just for this game and whether or not it would appear here at the Nintendo Direct. And despite it being a 6-year wait to this point, and it being very easy to say that, of course, it wasn't going to be today. Of course, it wasn't going to be this presentation. You and I both had a feeling.
Yeah. I sort of expected that we would see this here, and I'm glad we did. I think the game looks great. I've seen a lot of people actually kind of like down on the trailer. I mean, and I get it, like the notion of like it's been 6 years and we're just seeing kind of a couple of seconds of gameplay and a bunch of like teases and stuff, but I'm like, man, to me this is like a pretty like, hey, like we're back. It is Metroid Prime. This is what the game looks like. This is how it's running. It very clearly is gameplay that we're seeing there, and it I think sets a nice tonal stage because we see Sylix at the end of the trailer, so they're not abandoning the plot threads of Metroid Prime 3 or Hunters. They're not abandoning any of that. They're picking up, presumably, right where those games left off. And we also get to hear, I'm not going to play it here on the stream, but we get to hear music. And the sort of like standard of Prime's music is upheld in the trailer too. This was a great like tonality check of like, hey, don't worry, this is still Metroid Prime.
Yeah. Metroid Prime, the remake came out last year, was shadow dropped in February, and was just an amazing reintroduction to the franchise for a lot of people. And with that still being fresh in a lot of people's minds, I'm glad that we finally got a look at this because, with having played Metroid Prime, the remaster recently, I felt like I could feel the game as it was being played. I felt like I could get a sense for how the game was going to handle as we were seeing the trailer. And, you've already talked a little bit about the the environments at large and a lot of the stuff that's kind of happening in the background, the scale of the conflict that we're walking into and what is presumably the very beginning of the game.
I assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. But just having that and just seeing the sparks there as Samus is rolling around in her morph ball form and seeing how smooth everything is happening, it just, I mean, the Metroid Prime series has some of the most critically acclaimed first-person shooters ever made, and we all knew that this game was going to be up to those standards, but it is so nice to finally be able to see it after all these years. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is to kind of see where the Metroid aspect of Metroid Prime 4 goes, because the whole idea of Metroids evolving has always been one of the aspects of the series. I mean, even going back as far as Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, the Metroids themselves were constantly evolving into ultimately, the Queen Metroid final form. But having these new look Metroids here behind, you said
Silex, yeah.
Silex, yeah. Those are very clearly different Metroids than the ones that we are used to, and seeing what that's going to mean for those characters, for the narrative, for the gameplay, and for the series at large is something that I'm interested in seeing.
Yeah, I mean, the fan theories are already in high gear.
Oh,
I've
yes.
heard some really cool thoughts about Silex, not like a massive major character in the other games, but they teed up the fact that Silex was tracking Samus at the end of Metroid Prime 3, and it looks like we're picking up that thread, and Silex is presumably going to be the big bad of this game. A lot of people have pointed out that, hey, Silex has never been actually gendered in the game. So this could be a reveal of like, hey, what if Silex, just like Samus, is another female bounty hunter? There's no reason that Silex couldn't be. And it's pretty cool to see that possibility, to see what these new Metroids might, implicate, these kind of evolved Metroids. And there's also been a lot of chatter about, is this, secretly Switch 2 footage that we're seeing here? That's not what's happening here. This is Switch 1 footage. In fact, Digital Foundry did a breakdown of the game, and this trailer anyway is like 900p resolution, and they have reason to believe that this is running on the same engine as Prime Remastered, which is to say a very great and solid engine. That is one of the best looking and running games on Switch. So it makes sense that they kind of did that to create a base level to build Prime 4 upon.
Yeah.
So
and wherever Samus buys her ships, I really appreciate her new ride.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're retro, right, you're probably thrilled that people are thinking this is Switch 2 footage already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the fact that conversation is happening, I think they're probably thrilled about it. And this is a great showpiece. This is a great kind of like, this is coming in 2025. It's not this year. There was a part of me when we predicted it, I was like, I think it might be this year. I think this is a great kind of final swan song for the Switch. Look what this thing can do all this time later. Look what it's still capable of, and look at like what kind of games we're having even in the end of its life. We're providing this, and I do suspect that you're gonna be able to play it on Switch 2. I'm sure they might do the dual launch thing. Who knows?
Well, I mean, when it comes to consoles, like that's really always the story, is going into the final years of game releases for a console. That's when developers,
the showpiece.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's like we've had this console around for 6, 7, 8, 9 years. We know this hardware inside and out. We know exactly how to get the most out of it. I mean, you look at the old NES games that came out after the Super Nintendo had been released. Mm-hmm. That's when we got stuff like Kirby's Adventure. I mean, look at the difference just between Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Brothers 3. And I could come off on so many examples. But yeah, the Switch has been out since 2017. People know how to use the hardware. Sure, the hardware itself hasn't changed. However, techniques, compression, and the developers themselves have evolved to be able to take as much advantage of the Nintendo Switch as possible. It doesn't surprise me at all that the game looks this good on this platform.
Yeah, and it was scoped for the Switch initially. I mean, this game's been in development for so long. This has always been a Switch 1 game. So, I mean, yeah, I think this looks great. And I know we didn't see much in the footage, but I'm confident we'll see more as the year goes on as we ramp up to release. I do hope they end up porting 2 and 3
Me too.
to get everybody back up to speed. But yeah, looks great, man. Can't wait. Prime 4, we finally got to see it. It's real. It's actually
It is real. It is real. I'm super excited for it again, especially with the remake of Metroid Prime. Still very fresh in my memory. I'm incredibly hyped for this. Can't wait to get some more information on it. This is the type of game that will wind up getting its own direct at some point, I imagine.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. But that was it, Eric. That was all. That was all from the Nintendo Direct. That was it. We broke it all down. It only took us 2 hours, but we did it. Turns out, good direct.
Well, a few announcements from that direct broke me down. So, oy. But yeah, I'm incredibly excited about the back half of this year. So many question marks coming into the back half of 2024, and so many of those holes filled in with incredibly exciting titles. Woof.
Yeah. Well, let's transition a little bit into another showcase, and we don't need
Yep.
to hit too many of these, but I did just want to hit some of these titles that they showed at LRG 3 this year. Which I mean, I gotta say, man, I thought this was a really good showing from LRG. I'm not super up on LRG these days like I used to be, but that's like the fastest 40 minutes I think I've ever spent watching a direct. Like the pacing of it, the announcements they had. Some of them were really good. A lot of it is just kind of, it's LRG, so a lot of it is, hey, we're doing a physical of this game. But
Yeah.
some low key, genuinely really big announcements.
There were a couple very good and interesting announcements. If I'm being honest, I thought the show was really mid.
Really? Okay.
But there are admittedly a couple things that I am pretty excited for, and one that genuinely very surprised me. And yeah, this is actually the one that really surprised me. Is our friends over at Bitwave Games, aka the people behind Wonderlane, who brought back Gimmick to modern platforms. The oft forgotten NES hidden gem Gimmick is getting a sequel on modern platforms coming this year, again from our friends over at Bitwave Studios, courtesy of Sunsoft.
Yep. Sunsoft is well and truly back, and
Yeah, they are.
I mean, look, Bitwave kind of this is, I mean, kind of a Metroid Prime situation where, hey, we're refamiliarizing ourselves with the original Gimmick by, kind of bringing it back to the modern age, just like Prime 1 remastered, and now we're equipped to make Gimmick 2.
Yeah.
It's coming later this year to the Nintendo Switch, and these are the right folks for the job, man.
Absolutely. It was so clear from the moment Bitwave took on the original challenge of bringing the first game forward that this was a game that they were deeply passionate about. And I just hope that Gimmick 2 is as ridiculously difficult as the original one is.
It is ridiculously difficult. Yeah, it certainly is. Well, we also got another addition to the pile of 80s IP beat 'em ups, Eric.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah, we've seen this game a couple times before. It's really nice to see that LRG is going to be behind this and that we're going to be seeing a physical. But I mean, just like the TMNT, just like another series that we saw earlier on during the Summer Game Fest showcase, and we saw here at this showcase as well, there's a lot of classic 80s IP turning into modern beat 'em ups. And I mean, I'm here for it. My friend Garrett, my late friend Garrett, was a massive G.I. Joe fan. It stinks that I'm not going to be able to play it with him, but I will absolutely be playing it in his honor. It looks like it's going to be a ton of all-American, real American fun, I should say.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if this is PC enough for me to bring up on stream. But we had the Jane Silent Bob sort of beat 'em up announcement too. Chronic Blunt Punch.
Yeah.
I think this looks awesome, actually. I'm actually way into it. I like the kind of hand-drawn art. Digital Eclipse is behind it. I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
You know how much I love Digital Eclipse. I love Kevin Smith, I do, but the whole Jay and Silent Bob thing, I had a slight moment with it back during like the Clerks and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back era, but I've grown so far out of Jay and Silent
That's
Bob and
fair.
the whole Blunt Man and Chronic thing. I'm like, they're doing their thing, and more power to them. And I did appreciate a few of the references. Jay specifically does like a Wolverine Berserker barrage attack
Yeah.
in the trailer. So yeah, they're doing their thing. More power to them. This is absolutely not for me though. But I hope whoever it's
Okay.
for, it's a good game.
I'm into it. I have a lot of nostalgia. Like I have a lot of Jay and Silent Bob, Clerks, Kevin Smith nostalgia. That stuff
Yeah,
hits for me. And I like the art style of it. I like that it's a kind of hand drawn thing. As long as it plays well, that's my big concern.
of course.
Because all of this nostalgia and artwork, that's all great, but it needs to play well at the
Yeah,
end of the day. And it does look very. The reason I'm a little like apprehensive about showing it on stream here is because there's a lot of like BDSM and
yeah.
all kinds of like drug references and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's
It's
Jay and
gonna be
Silent Bob.
a Jay and Silent Bob game.
Oh yes.
So I'll say this: I didn't have a sequel to Snow Bros on my
Yeah,
bingo card.
yeah. I'll admit it. When I first saw this, I was like, "There's no way this is a Snow Bros game." That weird 2D arcade game that we got a remaster for just recently on the Nintendo Switch. There's no way this is a Snow Bros game. But yeah, sure enough, we're getting in, no joke, honest to goodness, Snow Bros 3D platformer coming to the Nintendo Switch at some point. I don't remember seeing this game
Neither.
prior to LRG3. And I mean, I'm
I'm
always
kinda into
here.
it.
I'm always here for a nice, fun looking 3D action platformer. There's still not enough of them on the Nintendo Switch as far as I'm concerned. But having it specifically be a Snow Bros game, I'm here for it. It's just, this is a weird title, man. This is a weird reveal, but cool.
And they look weird. Like this.
Yeah, they do.
It reminds me. It's like the Bomberman Act Zero kind of like vibe of like, let's take these cute kind of retro characters and try to make them like more like humanoid looking. It's a little strange, but I'm still kind of here for it. Just a bizarre project, and there are a couple of shots that look really. I like this mechanic of like throwing the giant snowballs, this pinballing sort of
Yeah,
mechanic we see going on. I think it looks fun. I don't know. I'm into it.
yeah. I cool. I'll definitely be interested in checking it out once it drops. There are a couple things looking at the gameplay that make me worried that it may feel stilted, but
You're right.
but it'll definitely be a game, again, because of my fondness for 3D platformers. It'll definitely be a game that I will check out once it does release. So whenever that game comes out, folks, do expect a video from us.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. But we got to see Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary
What?
Edition.
What?
Yeah.
What? Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition? There was no
Yeah.
way we could have seen this coming, Seth. There was no way that anybody
Yeah.
could have possibly predicted the existence of this game ever coming out, aside from the fact that Ubisoft accidentally released the full game a year ago, despite the fact that there's been multiple leaks directly referencing this game, despite the fact that Ubisoft themselves accidentally posted the social media post prior to LRG3, completely deflating the announcement the day of. Aside from all of those things, there was no way we could have possibly known about this title.
Well, yeah. I mean, we knew it was going to be here.
Of course.
They announced a few days before that it was going to be here. We were expecting it at the Nintendo Direct,
Yeah.
frankly, but they announced on the Beyond Good and Evil Twitter account that this was going to be at LRG3, so we knew it was going to be here. But then, yeah, like 2 hours before LRG3, Ubisoft like tweeted this trailer out specifically, so it was a little bit deflating, but still. I hope this is a good port. I hope that this is a good sort of treatment. It looks really cool. I like
Yeah,
this
Paige looks great.
anniversary. Yeah, I think that they've done a good job of, up-resing the game, but also like maintaining the tonality of the game, which I think is something that we see a lot with remakes and remasters. They miss the mark on maintaining the original's tone. I think this game still manages to do it with what we've seen in this trailer. Like it looks like Beyond Good and Evil. And yeah, I mean, like the new gallery stuff, there's actually new content in the game, which
Yeah.
is supposed to tie into Beyond Good and Evil too. So I'm not convinced that game is ever going to come out, but
I was about to say, it's supposed to tie into a game that's never going to exist. What's the point?
yeah, but that's what they say. They say that there are new missions in this game that will tie into Beyond Good and Evil 2. They are maintaining that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is a real thing that will someday release. But hey, regardless, I'm happy for this. This is good enough for me.
Now, the fact that it's about to come out in just a few days
Yeah.
should get people a little excited for it. So, if this is something that you've been looking forward to, you only have a few days from the time we are recording this before the game is actually in our hands.
Yeah, it comes out on the 25th. Now, we don't know the price. I am going to be curious as to what the price of the game is. I'm hoping that they're releasing this for sort of $20, $30. Do not put this out for a full price. That would be such a mistake.
Yeah.
So,
We'll see, but
we'll see.
I am glad that we're getting it back. This was a game that was so incredibly lauded when it came out originally back on the Xbox and the GameCube, and it deserves to have a well-crafted re-release on modern platforms. That's just something that's so weird and unique about this industry is, you can re-release movies on a new platform incredibly easily. Sure, VHS might not exist anymore. Sure, just re-release The Godfather on DVD. DVD's going out of style. Cool, just re-release The Godfather on Blu-ray. That's relatively easy. It is incredibly difficult to do something like this with video games and porting them to new platforms, new formats, and stuff like this. So not every game is unfortunately going to benefit from modernization, but this one absolutely deserved to, and I'm glad that Ubisoft took the time to do it. I mean, with all the stuff going on with the Prince of Persia remake over the past couple of years, this was another one that I was very, very concerned about. However, seeing the trailer proper did alleviate a lot of those concerns for me.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring that up too. Why didn't they just do this with Sands of Time? Sands of Time still holds up. I played it last year. It still holds up. I played it in like 2 sittings. I couldn't put it down. It still holds up beautifully well. And visually, it still holds up really well. If they had just done this treatment, cheaper, easier to do something like this to Sands of Time, I would have lapped it up like a hungry dog, dude. And I don't know why they didn't just do this with Sands of Time. I really, to me, it really kind of made me upset. I'm like, man, like we gotta wait till 2026 to see if like hopefully the Sands of Time remake is good when you could have just put out the already good thing with a remaster like this, So we'll see. I hope it's good. I'm day one on it if it's a good price. Like if it's as long as it's not full price, I'm gonna be day one on it. I'm excited to replay this game.
I am too. I hope it comes out. I'm double checking the eShop right now just to see.
It's not on there. It's not on there. I went to look earlier today. It was not on there. So we'll find out hopefully soon. But yeah, it's not on there as of yet. I mean, look, It's coming out in a few days, so we're gonna find out one way or another. But, I'm gonna hit this really quickly. This is just for me. Lollipop Chainsaw Repop getting.
I'm excited for it. I am. I enjoy the game when it came out. I enjoy Team Grasshopper. So, this was definitely a game. This is very much akin to like the Bullet Witch, the exploitation action genre, your Bayonettas of the world. But yeah, this was a ton of fun, and we knew about Lollipop Chainsaw Repop. We've known about it for a short while now, but it is nice to see that it is going to be getting a physical from LRG.
I'm excited about that. I love this game, and a game I love even more, Shadows of the Damned, is also getting a remaster this year, and LRG has all but confirmed that they're also doing the physical release for it.
Yeah.
So makes me very happy that we're actually getting a physical release for this. I try to behave myself when it comes to physical release stuff, but you better believe I'm getting a physical copy of Lollipop Chainsaw and Shadows of the Damned.
Well, didn't LRG handle like No More Heroes 1, 2, and 3?
They did. Yep. They
did.
So they've got a pre-existing relationship with Grasshopper Manufacture. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Couple little things to hit here. We did finally get to see some footage from the Gex trilogy.
Yeah.
Complete with John Wick reference.
Oh, yes.
So.
Been hearing a lot of people wondering if I'm back. And up until now, I didn't really have it. It's like, yes, we get it. You're John Wick now. Yes, we get it. You make a lot of movie references in your games. Thank you, Gex.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to play it.
I am too.
I'm gonna play it.
I am
still
too.
Don't know when this is coming out, but these 3D Gex games, I have a little bit of nostalgia for them.
I do too, man. It was definitely a mood back when these games came out. It was the most 90s thing ever, but I did like them. Gex is not a trilogy that I want to exist in the modern era necessarily.
Right.
However, I am happy that this franchise is coming back. The LRG is doing a ton of really good work with the Carbon engine, and
Yes.
there's been so many revivals of games that I've been genuinely over the moon about. Even though it wasn't like super well received, I'm really happy they brought Gargoyles back. The Sparkster collection was awesome. The fact that they brought back the Jurassic Park games and stuff like that. I've been over the moon about the work that LRG has been doing with the Carbon engine. Clock Tower is another perfect example of that. The forthcoming Clock Tower. So more of that, please. Now, we knew about the Gex trilogy from last year. That was actually their one more thing from last year. So hopefully we don't have to wait too much longer on that. But I will say they did have a little bit of new information from their Carbon engine at this show. Not a lot, in my mind, disappointingly, not a lot. They showed off a lot of the stuff that's forthcoming for the Carbon engine, like the original Tomba, Gex trilogy, and stuff like that. But they did announce one new game coming for use of the Carbon engine. That is, hey, we've got Tomba. Tomba 2's on its way, everybody. Yay! So, Tomba 2 also coming through LRG from the Carbon engine.
Yep. Tomba 2 is going to be really cool. Another Carbon engine announcement, which if they had announced this previously, I missed it. This is pretty exciting to me. Ninja 5.0 coming. This is a really underrated Game Boy Advance game that I quite enjoy. And I'm excited that this is coming over to Switch. And Ninja 5.0 not on my bingo card. So.
Yeah, I don't think it was at an LRG presentation. There was a Ninja 5.0 reveal a while back, but
Okay.
if you look at if you do a Google search for best Game Boy Advance games of all time,
It's great.
You will very often see this game listed, which is weird because I don't think a lot of people even know it exists, frankly. But yeah, if you do a Google search for best GBA games, you very often see that. So I'm excited to play as, what is his name, Joe?
Yeah. It's great, man. It's a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. But I think we should probably just hit this this final announcement that they had here, unless there's anything else you think we need to hit first.
I don't even think we need to hit this final announcement, frankly, but I guess it is somewhat newsworthy.
Eric. Of course.
It is. I mean, if you can see it right there, obviously they're bringing GoldenEye 007 to modern platforms in physical form. I mean, it's great. I mean, clearly that could only be GoldenEye. That's absolutely, oh no, what is going on? What am I looking at on my screen? Why are my ears bleeding?
Wasn't it you that said you wanted this? Didn't you say you wanted a Bubsy the Bobcat collection?
I probably did. I was probably not in my right mind.
I'm almost positive you said on the show recently that you wanted this.
I probably did.
The perfect collection.
Which I'm sure is going to...
Produced by Audie. Produced by our friend Audie.
Old Audie Sorley with the man behind Arzette. This, I don't know if it's going to include the new Kickstarted game, but at the very least, this absolutely has to include the Super Nintendo game and Bubsy 3D. Like the absolute least. But it probably will include the new Kickstarted game if I'm if I'm predicting things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't care about Bubsy, but Audie cares about Bubsy.
Yeah,
I'm happy for him.
Yeah, he was like on Twitter. He was like weirdly passionate, like weirdly like emotional about this collection coming to fruition. And LRG certainly has prior with their love of kind of famously derided games. I mean, for years we didn't think that Plumbers Don't Wear Ties was actually going to manifest itself. Night Trap, another famously bad game. I mean, speaking of Night Trap, apparently LRG is working on another FMV horror video game.
That ghost
weirdly.
game.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we love you, Audie. More power to you. I hope, and I'm happy for your sake that that this collection is coming to
Yeah.
fruition.
Yeah. Again, I got no love for Bubsy personally, but I like that people are excited for this. I did see some excitement about Bubsy, and hey, you know what? And you know what? I live reacted to this with Ryan from Carpool Gaming last
Yep.
night, and Ryan brought up the point of like, the bad games deserve to be preserved too, and I support that. I support that. Well, that was some highlights from LRG.
Yep.
I personally really dug the show. I took away some pretty good announcements from it. I came in with pretty low expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised. And
Yeah.
they're going to be getting a little money from me later this year. So
They also announced to give them a little bit of credit. They also announced Fear Effect, and
yes,
they were able to keep themselves from leaning too heavily into the game's original appeal when it came out.
Sure.
So
sure.
Fair play to them for that.
Fear Effect was a cool announcement too. That I'm actually pretty excited about. I like that game.
Are you really? Cool.
Yeah, so I'm
Cool.
excited about that. LRG3, check it out. Couple little quick headlines as we wind down the show tonight. The game was delayed to August recently, yet another delay, but
Yeah.
we got to see our first real look at Hatch Tales on the Atui YouTube channel, narrated by a friend of the show, Jules Watcham. Jules kind of walked us through basically the first world of the game and kind of explained some of the game's mechanics, how some of it works. We even got to see some of the unlockables on the map here. These two little pips on the map as you collect gems. There's like a retro arcade level that unlocks, and the first one was very clearly like Max from Mutant Muds,
Yeah.
and then the second one was kind of a throwback to the original Chicken Wiggle, which looks cool. Looks like there's going to be a lot of variety in the gameplay. Like, the game looks good. When it comes out, I have no doubt that it's going to be good and worth playing.
Yeah.
When it comes out.
But yeah, this is, you don't need us to tell you the story behind Hatch Tales at this point. It is very famously one of the most long in development games for this console, and it was finally dated for this year, and unfortunately even that date has been
Slipped
pushed
twice.
back a couple times already this year. So I'm really hoping for their sake that they're able to keep this new date of August, because
they want to get it out there too, right?
I know they do.
Yeah, they're over it, right?
I know they do. And I am interested in playing it because you and I are big fans of Atui games. Zeo Drifter, Mutant Muds. Pick Tui, you and I really dug. We're fans of their games. They make really good retro style experiences. And I have no doubt that Hatch Tales is going to be good when it can finally make its date. But it was nice to actually get to see the game in motion finally after so many years.
Yeah, finally getting to see it. And Jules says in the video, like, hey, this is the first of what will be multiple deep dive videos like this leading up to the game's release. So the game's supposed to come out in about 2 months. We'll see. But that is there on Atui's YouTube channel if you want to check it out for yourself. Real quick thing, I just thought this was kind of neat. Crash Bandicoot, The Insane Trilogy, over 20 million units sold globally. I thought that was crazy. That's a lot of units for Crash Bandicoot, man. Wow.
That's a lot of games. That's a lot of games. Crash Bandicoot 3 is still probably my favorite PS1 original game. And the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy is a fantastic value. Fantastic value. 3 fully remade adventures all in a single package. Even the Nintendo Switch version is incredibly easy to recommend when it comes to that. And if you've never played the original Crash Trilogy, highly, highly recommend it, especially the third one.
Yeah. Really, really good stuff. Also, really quickly, Splatoon 3 Splatfest for the Summer Nights event has been revealed from the weekend of July 12th through July 14th. Which would you reserve for a day? Team Palace, Team Theme Park, or Team Beach is the theme of this next Splatfest. What are you feeling for this one, Eric?
If I got to choose the theme park, I would probably go theme park, because I can think of a few theme parks that I could have a lot of fun with if I had them to myself or a group of friends for a single day.
Yep, I'm with you. I think I'm Team Theme Park on this one. And like I can take or leave the beach, palace, I guess. But what am I
Yeah.
doing in a palace? I want to go have fun, you know. So
Honestly, having a bunch of people around, having a bunch of other people around, as part of the reason I like the beach. I like having a nice big full like summer
I have
land.
fun with that.
I like seeing people having fun. I like having a bunch of people, like not shoulder to shoulder necessarily, but if I were the only person on the beach, the only group of people on the beach, I'd find that a little boring basically. So,
Right. Yeah. Well, we will see. We will see what happens there. We will see who wins. We already hit on Darkest Dungeon, current
yep,
NSO free game trial, so that concludes our
download now.
PSAs. Go ahead and download that. Let's hit some notable releases really quickly before we wrap up. The vast majority of them we've already talked about. A lot of the notable
Yeah.
releases were shadow dropped during the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, you can see one of them on the screen behind me. Again, Metroid Zero Mission, one of the GBA game Shadow Drop during the Nintendo Direct. In addition to that, Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past, specifically the Four Swords adventure, is also available. And in addition to that, for American audiences, there's a brand new NSO app, the Nintendo 64 Mature app, which already has Perfect Dark and Turok Dinosaur Hunter on it. Now, you do need a NSO Plus expansion pack subscription to get access to any of those games. Both the Nintendo 64 and the Game Boy Advance are part of the expansion pack, both. So you do need the expansion pack to get access to those games. However, all 4 of those dropped this past week during the Direct.
Yep. We also got shadow drop updates for Disney Illusion Island and Among Us, and Metal Slug Attack Reloaded also dropped during the Direct. In terms of other stuff, though, few things to highlight here, including 2 games that have videos on the YouTube channel right now. First off, Echo Generation, which we did get a code for, so big thanks to the publisher for that. Video on the YouTube channel now is a sort of voxel Stranger Things 80s vibes with the gameplay of like a Paper Mario turn-based RPG. I quite dug it. I've been having a lot of fun with this one, and I like kind of what the game has going on for it. It's and I a little bit after the video, it even got a little bit more interesting too. So I've been enjoying it. Looks and runs great on Switch, so you can check out the video for yourself. It's Echo Generation Midnight Edition on the Nintendo Switch. Pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
Cool game. I like it. The other game that is on the YouTube channel right now, if you would like to check it out for yourself, is Times and Galaxy, the robot space reporter simulator. Fellow Traveler sent us code for this, so thank you guys for that. Getting to investigate scenes of crimes, and not even just scenes of crimes, but the second one, it's not, you don't see me do it in this video, but the second case you work on is you're covering a space cat fashion show. And that's a lot of fun. So it's a really cool and interesting game with a lot of player choice. You can see me flipping through, if you're watching the video version, the headlines and the leads and stuff and the quotes. You can't unlock everything just on one run through the game. You have to really pay attention to what you're extracting out of people as you interview them and what you find as you're investigating scenes and construct your stories that way. It's a cool game. I like it a lot.
Yep.
So we got
now
that.
there was
we got,
one other. There was the Garden of Ban.
Yeah, Garden of Ban is kind of your Five Nights at Freddy's style thing. This is kind of like, my nephews are all about this. Kind of your like creepy cute, sort of game. There's like 4 of these games. They all hit the Nintendo Switch this week, and they take place inside of like a kindergarten with creepy killer mascots, So this is one of those. This is like one of those, Five Nights at Freddy's style things. So
Fair enough. That could be a decent spooky indie showcase in a few months. I don't know. I'll check it out.
yeah, maybe. And then Moonstone Island also finally came out this week for the Nintendo Switch. This game is really, really cool. It's got a little bit of everything in it. It's got farming sim, it's got card mechanics, it's got monster taming mechanics. It's like everything in one. And it's finally on Switch. It looks great.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Matt was really excited for this one, wasn't he?
His wife was. His wife was,
Mm.
Tosh was, and she apparently has been obsessed with it. So yeah, and there's like romance, there's like Stardew Valley esque stuff. I mean, this game truly has like so many different things going on all at once, and I want to get around to it eventually for sure. I like the art, I like the designs, so
Yeah,
yeah.
looks super cool. And again, I mean, just the sheer variety of gameplay on offer is enough to interest me. But yeah, it looks really, really cool. But that's available right now, finally available on Nintendo Switch.
I believe, Eric, after nearly 2.5 hours of a news roundup, I think we did it. I think we've covered it.
Not only that, June itself, I think, is over. Yeah.
I feel like whenever you stop a large truck or like a roller coaster, just
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just kind of settles and all the gas just kind of
That's
leaves.
me right now. The hydraulics kind of relax,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Oh man, it's been a suitably nuts June. There's been a ton of different presentations, many of which have had Nintendo Switch headlines come out of it. We've had the Guerrilla Collective, we've had Summer Game Fest, Wholesome Games Direct, and Xbox is. Well, we've had so many different shows and showcases over the past 2 weeks. It's been actually overwhelming. Two of the longest news roundups that we've done, far and away the longest episode of Side Quest that we've ever done. There are so many games coming on the horizon. It is actually too much, but regardless, if you consider yourself a gamer whatsoever, you probably saw a few things that are right up your alley over these past couple weeks. And I certainly know that my wallet is hiding somewhere, scared for its life. And the Nintendo Direct and LRG3. There's a few things from LRG3 that don't interest me, but I'm sure that they're going to get quite a bit more of my money over the next year, as they tend to do. But regardless, we would love to hear what all of you guys are excited for from this insanely stacked couple weeks of showcases. What games are you most looking forward to? What games are you most looking forward to picking up physically? What games are you most looking forward to passing up even? Let us know. Reach out to us on Facebook at All In Podcast, on Twitter at All In Podcast. Also, make sure to, if you're joining us here on YouTube or on Twitter, make sure before you go, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, go ahead and click the bell for notifications so you never miss another video from us here at All In Media. We're always posting a ton of new content all the time. In addition to these weekly news roundups, we have streams. As Seth and I have already talked about, first looks at up-and-coming indie games. I do a weekly series called Quarter Circle Forward. There's a ton of content that we put up weekly on the YouTubes. In addition to that, in addition to the weekly podcast that we put out each week that's coming out tomorrow with a brand new episode, in addition to all of that, we also find a way to create exclusive content for our patrons.
We do. That's right. Patreon.com/allinpodcast is the place to be. 3 tiers of support over there. You can get a free trial for 7 days to the Golden Banana tier, which will get you access to all kinds of stuff from Indie Showcase Plus, which is the video supplement that Eric puts up every week going along with our Indie Showcases from the podcast. You get All In Side Quest, which is our Nintendo podcast that the community gets to vote on topics for.
You can submit topics for.
You can submit topics for it as well. You get $2 Hero Cast, which is my weekly kind of solo AMA podcast. You get early access to episodes of Bit Harmony. A new one is going to be dropping next week. A ton of stuff going on Patreon. So as much stuff as we already do here for free, there's even more happening on Patreon. So come hang out with us, patreon.com/allinpodcast. Join the Discord, join the community, pick up some merch, allin.media. Again, running out of time to grab the All In 200 merch. So go ahead and pick that up while you still can. And like, comment, subscribe here on YouTube. Very much appreciated. If you listen on your audio feeds, leave us a 5-star review or rating. That is very appreciated as well. Very quick, free, and easy way to support the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for all of you who have picked up a piece of our merch or who are about to pick up a piece of our All In 200 merch before you run out of time. To everybody who has dropped words on whatever podcasting service you happen to follow us on. To everybody who has become one of those legendary patrons. And again, thank you one last time to John for these amazing, amazing
Thanks,
gifts.
John.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. To anybody who has even shared our content across this vast internet of ours, to each and every one of you, but in this week in particular, especially to John, we would like to extend to each one of you a namaste.
Namaste, everybody. That's been the news. That has been one heck of a weekly news roundup, breaking down the direct, breaking down LRG3, covering it all, man. And of course, we'll hopefully get a little bit of a break from Nintendo news moving forward. We'll see. We'll find out. But on tomorrow, there will be a new episode of All In, a Nintendo podcast, and on that episode tomorrow, it's a fighting game extravaganza. Eric has infiltrated All In, a Nintendo podcast, and every segment is related to fighting games. We are doing an indie showcase on Shovel Knight Showdown, the oft overlooked Shovel Knight fighting game. We are doing the top 5 Capcom collections that are still on the table, which, after Ace Attorney and after MVC seemed appropriate. And we're doing a retrospective on Tatsunoko versus Capcom. And that's a very interesting retrospective that you guys are not going to want to miss. That's all on tomorrow's episode of All In, a Nintendo podcast, hitting your audio feeds. Links are in the description. With that being said, tune in. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks to Pat. Thanks to Star Athena. I saw Brendan Myers in here earlier. Thanks for hanging out in the chat, guys. Good to see you. And we'll catch you next week. For myself, for Eric, good night. Bye.